Part 38. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 375. Early morning. The large bed in the manor bedroom is gorgeous and spacious. The decoration of the room is elegant and has a touch of solemnity of Western classical culture. The girl's bare shoulders were resting on the other side of the pillow. Amamai Nanamajetsu and Sakaki Bararaku looked at each other for a while, and finally looked directly at their own faces. There was a cold face among the beauty, which seemed to be a little more helpless. "What are you looking at me for?" Sakaki Hara was looking straight at her sky blue eyes that were brighter than gemstones, at her impeccable facial lines, at her messy flaxen hair beside her ears, at her pure white jade's neck and collarbone. Different from ordinary beautiful girls, Chikio always has a unique beauty that should be kept away from strangers and a flower on the high mountain. Such beauty is like a snow lotus after the rain, cold, proud, yet charming and charming. Thinking of the figure of Amamai Nanamajetsu who closed her eyes, faced the evening breeze, swayed back and forth, and was immersed in happiness last night, Sakaki Hararaku felt that she was a little unreal. July. Sakaki Hara called out her name with some embarrassment. "What?" Tianhai Minjiao answered in a much more intimate tone than before, with her face covered on the back of her hands. Yesterday. "Well, we did it together, what happened?" Chi said such straightforward words with such a beautiful face, which made Sakaki Bara feel a little at a loss. Smelling Chi-Chi's faint green apple body fragrance at such a close distance made him want to scratch his head. He didn't know why or where this mood came from, but he just felt a little embarrassed when facing Chi-Chi. Seeing this, Tianhai Kaimingyu blinked and proactively said to him, "Is it because you had sex with me that you were embarrassed to face me the next day?" "That's probably it. I can't say clearly. But at the same time, I'm sorry, but I still feel very happy when I see you. It's similar to the feeling of holding you after last night. I could feel the temperature of your skin at that time. The softness of the skin, and then there is the warmth of clinging to each other in exhaustion and falling asleep together. At that time, I can completely feel your love for me, the love you show in me, and the desire to possess me. My strength." "Oh." Tianhai Kaimingyu was a little interested in what she heard. She gently moved her hands under her face, her flaxen hair stretched back, her snow-white shoulders slightly protruding from the sheets, and her blue eyes stared at him. "I didn't expect that your inner activities are so rich. Can you tell me what you liked most about me last night?" "Which aspect?" "What you think." Sakaki Hara thought carefully. "Seeing you enjoying it so much because of me makes me feel quite excited." "That's true." Sakaki Hara smiled happily. "H's guy." "What? Don't you have sex in July? You invited me outdoors so late at night, and finally we went out on the road together." Tianhai Kaimingyu rolled her eyes at someone, turning into a look of contempt. "I didn't ask for the road, you begged me for it." Sakaki Hara put his face on one hand and said shamelessly, "Didn't you agree to it in July? In the end, I don't know who was holding his hands on the wooden railing of the flower field and pestering me and saying that if you do it again, I still owe you a shot. Do you need me to help someone recall it? Was it someone who said it 4 times in the middle of the night? But isn't it true that you pestered me in July?" Shameless guy Amamai Nanamajiwa was completely speechless. She didn't want to talk to Sakaki Bara anymore, so she directly pulled the quilt to cover her face. July. Chi Minjiao suddenly stopped talking. She called her several times but she didn't respond. She also refused to let go of her quilt. Sakaki Bara called her back and forth several times, but seeing that she really didn't respond, he didn't say much, but turned around to find another July. Tianhai Kaimingyu covered her head and planned to squint for a while longer. As a result, I hadn't even squinted for a minute or two when I heard movement from beside the bed. "Ole, Lejun, I just woke up. It's okay, it's okay. How about we give you a good morning kiss now? I'll cook for you later. I don't mind, but, well." When Tian Hai Kaimingyu heard this, she slowly pulled the quilt off her face with resentful eyes and looked at the two people who were kissing each other before they even got up. "How do you say this? I want to sigh, I really want to sigh. To be jealous is to be a little jealous, to be angry is to be a little angry. But when I thought that the object was my sister, my mood immediately turned into helplessness. On the contrary, Nanami took the initiative to see Raku Sakakibara, who was kissing another one of her good morning. Scumbag. Tianhai Chi Minjiu held the quilt to cover her chest, kicked her over, and then covered her face with the quilt. The discussion between the two came again next to them. "Lu Li, Chi seems to be jealous of you." "Well, it seems so." "Lu Li, don't laugh. Why are you still happy when your sister is jealous?" "Because I'm usually jealous of July." "Then I will take care of Kyo now." "You won't be angry, right?" "No, I wasn't angry last night, so why would I be so angry now? However, I can still be jealous." "Okay, wait until I come back and kiss you for a while." "Okay." Tianhai Yulai smiled softly. Sakakihara smiled lightly, lowered his head and bit Liulai for a while, then turned around and began to hold Kyo's exposed hand, coaxing her softly. He chatted with her about everyday things and told jokes to make her happy. Of course, these things have no effect on Chi, and now she is simply out of luck. In the end, it was Sakakihara Raku who looked at the quilt covering her face and deliberately said to Juliuli beside her, "Lu Li, Chi-Kyo doesn't promise me, how about we continue?" Of course. The effect of the sentence was quite obvious. Tianhai Kaimingyu immediately revealed Yuyuan's face, raised his right leg again, gave a certain guy a kick, and said in a commanding tone, "Get up and go cook." "Angry?" "I'm not angry, just jealous." Tianhai Kaimingyu sighed again and suddenly changed her mind. "Forget it, come here." "What?" Sakakihara approached her. "Want to kiss me? It's good to know. Once it's raw, it's familiar again. It's happened several times, I understand." Sakakibara immediately kissed Kyo good morning next to Liulai. Tianhai Juliulai saw the scene again, and saw another self kissing Lejun. She wasn't quite sure what she was really thinking. But what is certain is that there is a smell of vinegar, but after this little vinegar smell passes, you will feel relieved about the scene in front of you. After last night, I don't care too much about the current situation. Lu Li, come here too. I'll kiss them all." "Good." Tianhai Kaimingyu glared at someone, but said nothing more. Sakakibara was happy to see that they all liked to be kissed by him, but he had no choice but to hold them from left to right on the big bed, one by one. Asterisk. Get up and wash up. When Tianhai Juliulai was washing her face, she would always look at her sister who was brushing her teeth next to her, and her twin sister who had the same facial features, same hair color, and the same height and body. "Sister, why are you always looking at me?" Tianhai Kaimingyu said inarticulately. Tianhai Juliulai twisted the washcloth clean again and said with some embarrassment, "I just feel a little weird when I think about what happened yesterday." "Sister, are you shy? Do you think your brother is too handsome when he drinks milk?" "July? What are you talking about?" Tianhai Juliulai showed her sister's appearance, blushing, but said righteously, "According to normal circumstances, haven't we made arrangements? We should actually stagger the time. That's right, 2, 4 and 6 belong to me." That's what my sister is saying. I have no objection to this. But don't you think that with our current relationship, it's not necessary to make such a clear distinction? After Tianhai Juliulai hung the washcloth on the shelf next to the mirror, he turned to his sister and said seriously, "That's not right. Weren't you jealous just now in Kyo? You were almost angry, so it's better to distinguish clearly." Tian Haikimingyu spit out the mouthwash in her mouth, and while washing her toothbrush, she said, "I don't think sister should pay too much attention to this. The object of my anger is brother, not you, sister. Then it's not good for you to always be angry with Lejun, right?" Sister Tian Haikimingyu half closed her eyes and looked at Julie Yulai with interest. When did sister love her brother so much? I have always been concerned about Lejun's well-being. Ever since he made those promises to me. Well, Tian Hai Chi Minjiao thought about it. She held a toothbrush with a mouthwash cup in her hand and tilted her head slightly. "So, my sister is willing to agree to peacefully coexist with me, and my brother's promise to my sister is also one of the catalysts." "That's it," Tian Hai Julie Yulai said with emotion, staring at the bracelet on her wrist, "but the most important thing is that Lejun Dong has given me too much care and taken care of me so much, and I have nothing. Give it to him, but you still have to feel guilty about asking so much from him. In July, you paid more than me and you can let it go." "Why can't I let it go? What's more, in July, you are the kind of person who is more jealous than me. Sometimes it's not good to have a twin sister." Tian Haikimingyu held her chin. "Huh? Why?" "Because sometimes my sister knows me too well, but I feel like I have nowhere to hide in front of my sister." Tian Hai Julie Yulai responded with a smile and said, "At first, I thought it was impossible to live in peace with you in Kyo, but in fact, it has really reached this point. After seeing what happened yesterday, I realized that there is actually no way. Although I may occasionally feel a little dissatisfied, as long as Lejun has not forgotten me and will take care of my mood in time, it doesn't matter." Tian Haikimingyu looked surprised and deliberately teased her sister. "Hey, my sister felt satisfied by someone yesterday, so she said that. Be hate it? Don't talk nonsense in Kyo." Tian Hai Julie Yulai's face turned red. Sister, won't you start looking forward to the next time when the three of you will be together?" "No." Tian Hai Julie Yulai said these two words sonorously and forcefully. "Don't talk nonsense in July." Although my sister's tone is serious, my sister's red face has already betrayed you, sister. And what is my sister thinking about? I'm talking about a date in July. July? Don't joke around. Chi Minjiao is like this sometimes, as naughty as a child. Every time she is so naughty in front of him that he can't do anything to her, she is so naughty. But how long has it been since I last saw July like this?" Seeing each other again, Tian Hai Julie Yulai felt that there was too much happiness in her heart. She was happy that the person who would hold her arms in front of her and act coquettishly occasionally, call her sister, and then ask herself to pay for her to buy food would come back in July. Okay, stop joking. Lejun should prepare breakfast and wait for us to go down. Go down and drink milk. July. Asterisk. Toast, fried eggs, baked potatoes, salad greens, bacon and breakfast meat, and a bowl of miso soup. The toast is spread with honey, the omelette is fried to perfection, the potatoes are fragrant, the vegetable salad has a sweetness, and the bacon and breakfast meat sakeki hararaku have also been treated accordingly. There are not enough ingredients, so I can only make a Western-style breakfast hodgepodge. The living room is very bright, the sun shines on the tiles to form light beams, and sparrows chirp on the branches by the window. Looking at the three breakfasts neatly placed on the tablecloth and still steaming hot, Sakekihara couldn't help but feel a little satisfied. He probably felt that he had felt sorry for the two of them last night, so he tried his best to use his masterful cooking skills to make this simple breakfast as perfect as possible. Tian Hai Julie Yulai helped Tian Haikimingyu walk down the spiral staircase. Sakekihara looked a little dazed. "Why are you limping in July?" This sentence stunned both Tian Hai Julie Yulai and Tian Haikimingyu. After the girl gave him a condescending look of disgust, Sakakibara finally figured out why Chi-Chi was suddenly limping. He smiled very embarrassedly. Sorry, I didn't think well. It's good to know. Tian Haikimingyu was helped by her sister to sit down at the dining table. After her sister took her seat, Amamai Kuruori also sat down at the seat prepared by Sakakibara Raku in advance. She said to Sakakibara Raku, "I'll probably be walking like this for the past 2 days in July. It hurts. It's probably because it hurts a lot, or maybe it was strained after exercising for too long yesterday. After all, July has always been sick and weak." Sakakibara Leto looked at Chichu, who was eating breakfast silently, and felt that something was not good, so he could only smile and apologize to her. "Sorry, Chi-Chi." Tian Haikimingyu didn't blame him for feeling uncomfortable, as long as you still remember what you said to me last night. You have to understand that I am willing to do this to you because you can give me a lot of things. Remember, I must remember. What did Lejun say? Tian Haijuli Yulai was curious. Nothing, just some words to comfort Kyo. The breakfast was very harmonious, and everyone started chatting about some interesting daily things. The atmosphere was harmonious, and Sakakibara could feel that even if he had a formal relationship with the two of them, he would continue to live his life as he should. Li Yulai would praise her for how delicious her cooking was, Kia would complain about herself and Li Yulai, and she would have to say a word or two among the sisters. This kind of atmosphere convinced Sakakibara that the precious thing was not the membrane on their bodies, but the people living around them in this daily life that comes every day. Speaking of which, Dad's birthday will be in 2 days. Has Lejun thought about how to face Dad? Amamai Kuruori's sudden words stunned Sakakibara Raku, who was happily eating sausages and bragging to Kyo. Yes, there is also my father-in-law. What should I do? About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tio Lan. Chapter 376. Port District, Xingqiao Office and Commercial District. There are many high-rise buildings, and the dazzling sunlight illuminates the glass curtain walls of the high-rise buildings somewhat dazzlingly. The main office of Finiao Law Firm. Amamai Madayan locked the lawsuit information in the drawer, crossed his hands on the desk, closed his eyes, and frowned. The details of the contract dispute were recalled in his mind one by one. He couldn't remember how many times he had helped the old man wipe his ass. Since the last time he had a big fight with the old man, in order for both sides to give in, he began to help his family's company resolve various disputes. Annoyed. The contract dispute this time was clearly caused by a sub-brand company within the group that did not pay the money, but had to defend itself by collecting information for family members. This dispute resulted in the case being delayed again and again because he effectively avoided some information. Also because the family's company has a very high brand reputation and influence, the small business has been affected by public opinion and media opinion. If this continues, problems will arise in the company's operation, and the lawsuit will eventually be withdrawn. However, this is only a superficial dispute. In fact, it was because the products of small companies disrupted the market occupied by sub-brands, and the Tianhai family suppressed them. The reality is that it is difficult for a capable and talented team to perform as well as it should. In business, companies need to face not only customers, but also large enterprises that have already occupied the high ground. I have seen this kind of thing countless times in Tianhai's house. I think back to when I chose to be a lawyer when I was young. I had seen too many such merciless suppress-ions and chose the path out of a sense of justice. Tianhai Madayan still remembers that not long ago, a college student who had just graduated from a law school asked himself that a Suka firm has always provided a relatively high level of free legal aid to small businesses. I wonder why Mr. Tianhai still has a sense of justice in his heart. Maybe. Tianhai Madayan could only answer this, and he basically didn't help the Tianhai family with anything. But now that the old man has arranged for him to commit such an evil case, Tianhai understands that the old man is also suppressing his original intention. The reason why he suddenly chose to agree to the old man was because of the quarrel some time ago and the regression between them. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Kyo and Liulai to still be studying at Ming's school. Amamai stood up, picked up his briefcase, and immediately left the office. He said goodbye politely to his colleagues, employees, in the office, and then went to the restaurant downstairs. He waited until 8 o'clock in the evening, until Tianhai he officially got off work as the manager, and then he went home with her. Actually, you don't have to wait for me like this every time. Got used to. Riding in the elevator with his wife, Amamai Shigenori saw Amamai was smiling in front of him. If you say why would you choose her? That was probably why she often showed such a simple smile in front of her. Amamai Modani stared at the flashing LED panel in the elevator, and saw the reflection of Amamai Miwa's smile on the metal surface of the elevator. He suddenly felt a little emotional. Look back on your life. I have always been serious, straight-faced, and very serious. Elementary school, junior high school, college, it has always been like this. I have a lot of friends, but most of them are people who have the same views on study and knowledge. Most of the people I make friends with are children of aristocratic families. He suddenly realized that no one could ever smile in front of him. Whether it's the father, whether it's the sister, whether it's the two daughters. Everyone communicates with each other in just a few words, with a high degree of purpose. Although this purposefulness makes communication efficient, it also makes communication nothing more than purpose. Speaking of which, the first time I met Bertha was when she was playing the piano and she smiled at herself in the audience, right? The same goes for Kazumiwa. When he picked up her work badge and gave it back to her, she smiled to herself. Do you want me to make you a separate meal tonight? Amamai Shigenori turned around and found that Amamai Miwa had hugged her right arm, closed her eyes, and spoke in a mature female voice. Don't think about those annoying things. Sorry for making you worry again. Nothing, this is not something that should be taken for granted. Madayan, you are just too polite to people, which makes everyone think that you are very serious, so the people you talk to are only willing to talk to you about serious things. It's your birthday the day after tomorrow, and I specially asked for leave. How about taking you out for a walk? To relax. Amamai Nori smiled inadvertently when he heard what his wife said to him. What are you laughing at? I just feel that even though we are both in our 40s, we still have to go out together on our birthdays like young lovers. Nori, in his 40s, actually, when I look back at the past, it is just a blink of an eye. Sometimes when I am too busy with things, I will inadvertently think about what it is, and it kills all the longing of my youth. When Ellie and Aling were little, I always wanted to take them out to see more of the world. Now, because I didn't take care of them since they were young, I feel a little embarrassed to travel with them. Amamai Miwa sighed. Now that I think about it, it still feels strange. Ellie can handle everything well at home, but I can't find a sense of presence at home. My feeling towards them now is that I will try my best to help them when I can. But they don't seem to need me at all, they are too independent. My wife also has troubles. And this trouble is no different from myself. They all have emotional deficiencies and psychological embarrassment towards their children. Miwa. How do you think I should handle the matter about Ellie? Tianhai understood that his wife still didn't know about the old man's previous attempt to take away her custody, and he felt a little guilty in his heart. The two of them walked out of the elevator together and walked on the busy commercial street. I plan to go for a walk and walk directly home. The wind in Tokyo Bay at 8 o'clock at night has a hint of heat. They are all back to school now, right? What did your father say? Amamai Nori thought deeply. My father definitely doesn't agree with that bastard boy's idea, but he will let it go for now. This incident put both of them in an extremely embarrassing situation. First, Sakakibara Raku is Miwa's son, and Yukiruri is Shigenori's daughter. Mihi should stand on her son's side, but she is under a certain amount of psychological pressure because her son has done something wrong. Tian Himadayan took this into consideration, and he did not want to blame his wife at all. Things between them are not something you and I can control. Being independent means that they will have their own ideas. And because we are too far away from them in daily life, they basically won't consider us. Mihi, you don't have to think too much about Zyal's matter, I don't mean to blame you at all. But the hair on Amamihi's forehead was blown up by the wind on the Tokyo Bay. The two walked under the white light of the city street lights. Xiao Li will do this, and it is my responsibility as a mother. Xiao Li's fault is not his alone. Both Kyo and Li Yulai have their own mistakes. The reason for the current situation is that their feelings for each other were not properly handled and they were inseparable. I don't like Xiao Li's approach, but I also understand that his example is not completely equivalent, but from my perspective as a father, if Bertha and I had to choose between Kyo and Li Yulai during the custody battle, I would also be very disappointed. It's hard to decide. Amami made Nori's side. This is also my responsibility, so I don't need to say more. I agreed to let Kyo and Li Yulai go back to Aile's class. I also saw that their relationship began to return to the previous state. But neither Xiaoqi nor Xiaoju gave up their relationship with Ale. That's right. After hearing his wife's words, Amami made Nori's side again. Being a lawyer for so many years, I understand that there are not only two solutions to things. There is always room for compromise and negotiation, so let's do this for now. But Madayan, Ale, and Zyoki and Zyaju are all young people. I'm afraid. Amami Shigenori looked up at the pedestrian road beside Tokyo Bay in front of him, was silent for a moment, and then said slowly. On this point, I think the three of them still have a sense of proportion. Yes. Tianhai-Mihi also nodded. Asterisk. Walk all the way home. Opening the door, Tianhai-Mihi walked into the hallway first, took the initiative to take the briefcase and suit jacket from her husband, and brought out a pair of slippers for him. Amami Modani saw her bending down to hand him slippers and said to her, "You don't have to be so serious every time, you know. I don't like this feeling of inequality." "It's okay." Tianmai didn't care at all. She hugged his suit jacket and smiled at him. This is just a wife's unique love for her husband. These words silenced Tianhai Madayan. We're back. As Amami Miwa shouted into the spacious living room, Amami Shigenori followed her in. He found that the TV in the living room was on, playing a variety show, and beside the coffee table, Sakeki Harasuzu and Amami Yuki put their heads together, as if they were studying something. Huh? Amami looked around in surprise. She asked Sakeki Harasuzu, who was looking over, "It's Friday today. Where are Ale and the others? Are they out for a run?" "Have no idea." Sakaki Barasuzu, who was sitting with Amami Nazuki, glanced at her mother and uncle, holding a pen in both hands and replied, "The three of them said they were going out somewhere to play in the afternoon, and then they never came back." "Where are you going?" Tianhai Mihi asked, hanging the suit on the hanger in the living room. Sakaki Barasuzu poked her chin with the cap of her pen, her short hair swaying gently on her shoulders. "It seems like a city called Musashi or something, and she went out on a motorcycle." "Musashi Murayama City," Shiminori Amami suddenly interjected after loosening his tie. "Ah, that's it," Sakeki Harasuzu nodded. Amami Miwa asked Amami Maid Nori, "What kind of place is this?" Amami Shiminori glanced at Amami Nazuki, who was still writing something, and then replied to his wife. "The old man built a manor here for my mother. It was a gift to my mother. It is a very quiet suburb. If you have nothing to do, You can choose here for vacations and family outings. There are also several beautiful flowers to see there. Then Dad is really a bit romantic. Tianhai Mai, he covered her mouth with her hand. Only for my mother. Tianhai Madian wanted to sigh, and he asked Tianhai's Higsu again. Higsu, did they ask you for the key in Kyo? It's done. Tianhai's Higsu suddenly stopped writing in his hand. Oh. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. No wonder Aunt Zi praised you for your talent, Yuki. Suzu Sakakihara glanced sideways and clapped her hands in encouragement. What? Amamai made Nori didn't react for a while, but then he saw his youngest sister coming to him with a piece of paper in her bare feet. For my brother. Shimanori Amamai took the aforesaid paper handed over by his sister. This is a sketch. A sketch with a very high level of completion and quality. The painting is of myself. The person in the painting is sitting at the dining table at home, enjoying dinner with his wife, Miwa Amamai, who is sitting opposite. The picture is dim, as if there are no lights on indoors. Most of the pictures show him in profile, with his suit and briefcase hanging on the stool beside him. His expression is serious, and even his eating movements are extremely serious. Amamai Miwa also leaned her head over. When she saw the painting, she thought she was surprised by the detail of the painting, and then recognized what scene it was. The scene where we go home after working overtime in the evening, and then I cook for you alone, Shijinorai. Tianhai Madian has a very high cultural appreciation. I immediately understood what this painting wanted to express. Amamai made Nori put the painting down from his hands and looked at his daughter-like sister in front of him. She was also looking at herself and said to herself, "Brother's birthday is the day after tomorrow. Is this a birthday present?" Birthday present. When Amamai Midori saw the painting in his hand, he was filled with emotion. The relationship between himself and his daughters is not very good. They would still give him gifts before, but because every time he would think of the fact that he did not take good care of them, he basically said nothing after accepting them. The main purpose was to intentionally go refuse the kindness of my daughters because I deserve it. The last time you received a birthday gift from your daughter was 8 years ago, right? Surprisingly, it has been so long. Looking at the obviously very delicate sketch in his hand, Amamai made Nori actually felt that the characters in the painting, including himself who looked extremely serious even when eating late at night, appeared gracefully on the paper. I gave this to tell my brother not to be so tired. Most of the time, my brother and aunt go home for dinner when everyone is asleep. I thought about it together with Ling. Amamai Miwa quickly smiled at Amamai's Higsu and Aling and said, "It seems that you really have your heart." In other words, this is a gift from his sister and stepdaughter to him, right? Amamai made Nori held the painting with both hands, looked at the people in the painting, and then looked at the face of the little sister. This is an expression waiting for a response. He remembered that the old man said that Higsu also liked Xiao. What is Na's Higsu's attitude towards Xiao Le? He recalled the past and found that he and his youngest sister did not have much interaction in life. Higsu lives and grows up in Tianhai's family, and because of her birth defects, she basically has to see a doctor every once in a while. Amamai made Nori still remembers that one time he went to see her. After the examination, she sat on the hospital bed alone and looked out the window alone. It was a colorless, dull sight. She seemed to be looking at the world from afar, staring at a place that did not exist in this world. Her memory is that she would only hold the guitar left by her mother and study music alone in her room. Because she always forgets things, she has to start over when learning music many times. People's ridicule of fools will always show up inadvertently. This can be seen from the fact that idiot is a curse word. And my younger sisters also have a different perspective on this kind of snow. Although I don't blame Higsu for her mother's death, I don't seem to have given Higsu a birthday gift. Brother, don't you like it? No, Amamai made Nori said, and he reached out and put his hand on her shoulder, patted her and smiled at her. I like it very much. This sentence is said very rigidly. The stiff part is that Zhigzhu calls her brother very kindly. The word brother made Nori start to examine whether he was qualified to be Zyuki's brother. How long ago did you call your little sister like this? It was more than 30 years ago, right? Only when she was still in elementary school would her sister call herself that? Well, it's not without reason that the old man feels pain about the snow. If the old man doesn't care for Zhigzhu anymore, then who else in this world will help her? She has lost her mother since she was a child, and her father didn't like her at first. As the eldest lady, she was secretly ridiculed by those in the family, and even her brothers and sisters looked down upon her. She has always been alone, huddled in a corner holding the guitar her mother left for her, learning knowledge that she often forgets. Hand. Somewhat unconsciously, he touched Tianhai's Higsyu's head. Seeing the little sister who has regained her glory because of coming to this home, Amamai Maidani found it even more difficult to accept the identity of her brother. Compared to her blood brother, Xiao Le is her brother to her, right? I also said it in July. Xiao Le took the trouble to teach her common sense, teach her life, teach her not to run around alone, and teach her to study. Xiao Le also took the initiative to take care of Guo's Higsyu's video account that had no fans at the beginning. He didn't know until a while ago that Higsu was I have a music account on a video website, and I used to receive submissions every day. Over the past few years, there have been thousands of submissions, but only about 50 followers. It was Zyal who helped her make videos that made her account take off. Well, thank you Snow. As long as my brother likes it. Seeing Amamai no Yuki who gave away the painting go back to find Sakeki Harasuzu to play with, Amamai Shigenori couldn't help but hold her hand tightly as she gave the painting to him. There is no doubt that if you want your daughter to be happy, Zhigzhu must leave. But having never done anything, can I tell Zhigzhu that I must leave this home? Not only has he not given anything to this family, he has also not given anything to Zhigzhu. If he has not given anything, what can he ask of her? Should she be sent back to that home again? The old man also said sternly that if Zhigzhu was sent back, she wouldn't be able to stay in the school. She could only be arranged by the old man to marry a rich boy whom she had never met. Do you expect to see such a situation? You said that you hope that your daughter will be exempted from the family's marriage arrangements, then do you agree that your sister will be arranged by the family? I won't find a rich boy, you find someone to take care of her, who is qualified. Can you guarantee that the person you find can take care of her for the rest of her life? I was quarreling with the old man at that time, and the words the old man said while tapping his fingers were deafening. As for how to arrange someone who can take care of Zhigzhu, wouldn't it be enough? This matter is as difficult as knowing that there is a piece of gold in the sea and diving to find it. If you want to find someone who meets the standards of an old man, he must be talented and considerate and take care of you. What kind of golden turtle son-in-law is this? This is despite the fact that Tianhai's Higsu already likes Xiao Le. Is forcing her to change any different from doing something wrong? What's more, the old man wants Zyal to marry Higsu justly, but he is as stubborn as a donkey. He felt like he could be so angry that he would vomit blood all over the old man's face. From the perspective of a father, I hope that I can be good to my daughter now. From the perspective of a brother, I hope that I can be good to my sister now. The choice is contradictory and dilemma. Tianhaimadayan is really tired. He felt that if he tried something more, he would really be unable to hold on any longer. These are all terrible and contradictory things. Madari, have you thought about work again? Tianhaimi he put down the mobile phone that had just received the message and saw her husband's status. It's okay, Tianhaimadayan tried his best to calm down, and waved his hand to his wife who was caring about him. I just thought of many things through the painting of Zhigzhu. Will Zyal and the others come back today? I guess not. Just now Ale sent me a message saying that he played there late and wanted to stay overnight at the manor. The food is ready. Are they trying to repair their relationship this time when they hang out? Probably, forget it. Don't think about them. Okay, whatever you want to eat today, I'll make it for you. There are a lot of ingredients in the refrigerator that Ale has prepared. Let's grill the fish. Can you have some more tempura? I want to drink some beer today. It's okay, I'll do it right away. I'll go downstairs and buy you some wine, and I'll drink with you tea. And he smiled beautifully. Amamai Modnito looked at his smiling wife and said, "Thank you." Hey, why are you so polite? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tio Lan. Chapter 377. Stare. 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 As soon as Raku Sakakibara came home on Sunday, he was stared at for a long time by his sister who had the weekend off. Suzu Sakakihara wore short shorts at home and a super loose short-sleeved t-shirt with a cartoon rabbit logo on it. Aling is not taller than Kiju and Chiu, but her proportions are nothing to say, and she is also a beautiful girl. Her big white legs also have a fleshy texture. If you pick her up from behind, your hands will seem to sink into her thighs. Sakakihara Raku always thought that Suzu would look good in stockings. It's a pity that Aling doesn't like to wear stockings. She likes to bare her legs or wear short skirts or shorts and kick people casually with her feet. However, just talking about those little meaty legs, her boyfriend should be quite happy in the future. Sakakibara leaned back on the sofa, cracking the melon seeds he brought back from the manor, and watching TV programs. Sakakihara Suzu was holding a carrot pillow next to him, staring at him non-stop. I said, "Aling, why are you staring at me?" "I'm staring at you, don't you know why I'm staring at you?" "I don't know." Sakakibara casually threw a melon seed into his mouth. "Damn you guy," Sakakihara Suzu punched him in the arm and muttered dissatisfiedly, "Why didn't you come back even one day yesterday, Saturday?" "Huh? Tell me." "Ailing, brother, haven't I told you already? I went out to play with Chi-Chi and Li Yulai." "Going out to play? Wow, you think I will believe it?" "Why don't you believe it?" Sakakibara continued to watch TV and asked. "You didn't even take Zhigsu out on Friday." "I won't talk about it when I'm at work, but KXU. Why did you leave her at home?" Sakakihara Raku had a vague feeling that Suzu smelled something. After taking Kyo and Li Yulai home today, Aling kept watching the three of them. "And why dash?" Sakakihara Suzu was suddenly hugged by him, which shocked her so much that she was stunned. She immediately blushed and was ashamed, and quickly stood up and pushed away. You, what are you doing?" Sakakibara smiled calmly and said, "Don't be jealous, Suzu. I didn't mean to go out without you or talk to you." Sakakihara Suzu felt very strange. Because the old man in front of me, for some reason, is a lot more handsome than usual. Not only does he look less silly than usual, but his smile is also like that of a handsome guy, neither arrogant nor arrogant. Sakakihara Suzu was a little angry at how he suddenly hugged her just now. Her cheeks were red. Although she wanted to refute, this guy did guess it right. "I am just jealous. I left without saying a word on Friday. I was going home from get off work and met a very delicious stinky tofu snack on the roadside. I bought it and wanted to leave it for him to eat together. But at 8 o'clock in the evening, my mother after I came back with my uncle, I realized how many people were not going home. Are you not even willing to talk to yourself?" This feeling of abandonment made Sakakihara Suzu feel that she had been forgotten again. Okay, okay, Suzu, I really didn't mean not to tell you. Raku Sakakibara saw his sister's little thoughts. In fact, Suzu is a very sensitive person after she is not so arrogant. Especially when it comes to treating herself emotionally. Then what's your reason? Sakakihara. Suzu lowered her eyes and muttered. I can't say that. Okay. You did it on purpose. It's really hard to say without me. It's really hard to tell. It's hard to say, that's all. Before, you said you could talk to me more when you got home, but after you reconciled with Kiju, you started talking to them every day again. You even took them out to play alone. Asuzu Sakakibara lowered his voice very slowly and called his sister's nickname. What are you doing? Sakakibara. Suzu's bulging face seemed to be filled with breath. You know, Kyo and Liulai have just reconciled. I need time to accompany them and help them repair their relationship. So I haven't taken much care of you since I came back. Asshole. I haven't taken care of you all this time, except that day at the amusement park. Sakakihara. Suzu knew that her brother was very pressed for time, had many people to accompany, and was busy with many things. She knew she should be more considerate of this guy. But why can't good things happen to me? Sakakihara. Suzu knew who he was, and he knew that he was sad, and there was nothing he could do about it. If you are unhappy, it will also make him unhappy. Although this guy is a jerk. However, I really don't want to see him in the same complicated mood just because he takes care of himself. Yes, Sakakihara. Suzu, haven't you understood your identity a long time ago? Haven't you decided that you want to live a happier life in the future? If you can't laugh because you're sad, you should force yourself to laugh. Otherwise, I won't be able to adapt to a life without marriage in the future. Slightly. I won't talk to you anymore. I'm going to find Chi Minjiao and Julie Yulai. Sakakibara was happy to see that Suzu had returned to her previous appearance. He knew that she was thinking about it, so he smiled and said, then go ahead. Sakakibara. Suzu left the sofa, and when walking from the living room to the bedroom corridor, she glanced at Sakakibara Raku's back on the sofa. My brother seems to be a little different. This is something she can sense. He took care of Kiju even more carefully. Even when his mother and uncle were away during dinner, this guy would give Kiju and his wife an extra chopstick of meat. What to do? Being attentive? They are all your girlfriends. Why are you so attentive all of a sudden? Sakakihara. Suzu couldn't figure it out. Since she couldn't get it out of her brother's mouth, she planned to go to Kaimingyu Jurili's side to find out. Chi Minjiao and Julie Yulai seemed to be discussing what kind of cake they should buy for their uncle's birthday tomorrow. So, Sakakihara. Suzu opened the door of Nanamijiao's bedroom. Not here. Sakakihara. Suzu quietly poked her head out of the crack in the door and saw no sign of the two of them inside. Probably, it was in Julie Yulai's room next door. With this thought in mind, Sakakihara. Suzu was just about to close the door of Nanamijiao's bedroom when she saw a photo on Nanamijiao's desk. That photo caught Sakakihara. Suzu's attention. The figure in the photo, which looked very blurry from a distance, forced Sakakihara. Suzu to get closer. She saw the photo up close, lifted it up, and held it in her hand. The wind blowing from Tokyo Bay fluttered the gauze curtains in the bedroom. Sakakihara. Suzu's eyes trembled when she saw the three people in the photo. What she saw was a wedding photo taken by Sakakibara Raku, Amamai Kururi, and Amamai Nanamijetsu standing in front of a sunflower field. In the photo, Raku Sakakibara stands in the middle, holding twin sisters with different expressions on his left and right hands, but with identical faces. Is this a wedding dress? Sakakihara. Suzu was in disbelief. The three of them went out on Friday to take wedding photos. What is this? What are wedding photos? Is it considered a private life decision? Chi Minjiao and Julie Yulai have completely accepted each other, and then they have completely confirmed their relationship with their brother? Sakakihara Suzu stared at this photo for a long time, looking at the wedding dresses of Juliuli and Chi Minjio, looking at their expressions, and looking at the way her brother held their hands. She moved her eyes slightly and suddenly discovered that there was a whole stack of photos on Chi Minjio's desk where the shark doll was placed. Sakakihara Suzu put down the wedding photos of the three of them in her hand, picked up the stack of photos, and started looking through them one by one. She discovered the photos are all about wedding photos, taken at the same time. It's not just the three of them together. There are also photos of pure love between the two. Not the next time, Sakakibara Suzu saw Sakakibara holding 7/9's hand wearing a white wedding glove and kissing their foreheads under the sunset. Wedding dress. Wedding dress. Wedding dress. All in all, a wedding dress. This. What is this? Sakakihara Suzu suddenly felt ridiculous, and she suddenly felt that Kiju, wearing a wedding dress underneath, was so beautiful that it pierced her eyes. She flipped through them one by one and observed them one by one, getting more and more anxious and eager. She even wanted to think that these things were not real and were. Sister Chan, are you looking at the photos? The sudden cold voice from behind made Sakakihara Suzu put the photos in her hands together in an instant. She hid the photo behind her and turned around quickly to face Tianhai Kaimingyu standing at the door. Amamai Nanamajetsu saw Sakakibara Suzu's nervous look and didn't say anything. He just said to her in a calm tone, "Look, it's nothing. Anyway, Sister Chan is something that she has to know sooner or later. This, you took this on Friday." Yes, after hearing this, Tianhai Chi Minjio lowered her head slightly and closed her eyes as she agreed. What do these count for? It's an agreement. You plan to marry him? No, to be precise, it was his promise to make me and my sister happy. Tianhai Kaimingyu shook her head a few times, and her smooth and shiny flaxen hair swayed slightly behind her head. This is not something you would say to Nanamijio. Sakakihara Suzu's expression was stiff, and she didn't even know how to look at the girl of the same age in front of her. You think I won't say it so bluntly? Your guess is correct, but since Sister Chan has seen it, there is no need for me to talk in circles with Sister Chan. Then what should I call you in the future, sister-in-law? Amamai Nanamajetsu raised her eyes and saw Sakakibara Suzu pressing her lips tightly together. Through Sister Jiang's expression, Tianhai Kaimingyu took another look at the photo album tightly held behind her and roughly understood the origin of Sister Jiang's expression and emotion. She had heard from her brother that her sister Chan did not want to get married in the future. Not getting married. Nature also means not falling in love. It's okay not to be in love, you can even live well alone. But for Sister Chan, it means that the love she has had since childhood is missing and cannot be filled. Not getting married means living alone in the future, leaving early in the morning and returning home late to go to and from work. When one comes home from exhaustion, he shouts the words, "I'm back to an empty house." Sister Chan has always been surrounded by someone who loves her and takes care of her. The cruelest thing is not loneliness, the loneliness after the sudden disappearance of extremely precious love. Sister Chan endures this loneliness herself, but she also wants to see others be happy in front of her. Ling, maybe you got a glimpse of such a future through this photo, right? In the photo, she saw the person she envied, wore the clothes she envied, and got the love she envied most. Tianhai Kaimingyu saw her sister Jiang's forced look on the verge of tears. Well, when she thought that she was the culprit, Tianhai Kaimingyu no longer had any intention of making fun of her. Asshole, I clearly promised to smile all the time. Suzu Sakakihara wiped the crystal tears that came from the corners of her eyes with her palms. Sister Chan, you already knew that such a day would come, right? Otherwise, do you think the tears I shed every day hiding in bed are in vain? When I came back, I said I wanted to look away and look away. How could I look away so easily when I see you? Sakakihara Suzu was trying to collect her emotions. Maybe the future will be like this. Watching the two foxes have a home and become happy, but I never have a place to rest. Maybe I am superfluous to begin with? Maybe he should just disappear? Maybe I am too pretentious and that is why someone becomes unhappy along with me? Sakakihara Suzu put the photo back to its original position on the desktop. She suddenly wanted to leave and go far away. Since no one likes me and I'm so unnecessary, I'd better go away. A person does not see these things. You should be able to live a good life alone, right? When she thought of this, Sakakihara Suzu felt completely lost and dejected. Sorry for disturbing you. She and Tian Haikaiminyu staggered their bodies and prepared to walk out of the bedroom. Sister Chan, wait a minute, Tian Haikaiminyu called to her. What? If you want to mock me, just do it. Tian Haikaiminyu sighed helplessly and turned to face her. Of course I don't want to mock you, but just like what you said to me before, although we usually have small quarrels, it doesn't mean that I hate you. Of course you don't hate me anymore. In your eyes, I'm just a fun-seeking character who's stupid and stupid. I don't have anything and yet I'm so confident. I'm happy, but that doesn't mean I don't treat you as my family, Sister Chan. As for the following words, Sister Chan can try to think from another angle. This is also called innocence. Are you comforting me? No matter what, Sister Chan needs someone to comfort her right now, right? Amamai Nanamajetsu said matter-of-factly, walked over and closed the door to her bedroom, and then took the initiative to hold Sakakibara Suzu's hand. This made Sakakihara Suzu look at her very warily and retracted her hand. What are you doing? Come with me. You want to molest me? Let me tell you, don't underestimate me, I am stronger than you. Just come over here. Tianhai Chi Minjiu grabbed her again and pulled her to sit beside his bed. Tianhai Kaimingyu's sitting posture is very upright. Okay, lie down. Huh, Sakakihara Suzu looked at her thigh. Just lie down. It can't be so comforting. So rude. Although Sakakihara Suzu said so, she still lay on Nanamijiu's lap with half push and half resistance. She didn't even know why she was led astray by Chi Minjiu so easily. She was obviously very unhappy and uncomfortable right now. Maybe you think July Fox is quite friendly, right? She also said she wanted to comfort herself. Comfort yourself. When I think of someone willing to comfort me, I feel less resistant. Sakakibara Suzu buried her face in Amamai Nanamajetsu's lap. Time passed little by little. Sakakibara Suzu buried her face and smelled several mouthfuls of the green apple smell between Chi Minjiu's skirts. Also because she buried her face, her voice was muffled. I said, don't you want to comfort me? Why hasn't there been any movement? It's comforting now. Just rely on your lap pillow. Isn't it warm? This is true. Sakakibara Suzu closed her eyes and touched her head when she felt the 7 moons of the sea. How about I call you Ling now? Whatever. Ling, do you have a lot of emotions in your heart right now? Yes, what's wrong? Is there no way to say it, no way to realize it, no way to tell it? Sakakihara Suzu felt strange, because Nanamijiu's voice at this time was particularly gentle, so gentle that it gave her a gentle feeling. Illusion. This must be an illusion. Sakakihara Suzu buried her blushing face deeper into her thighs. Huh, Tianhai Chi Minjiu looked at the head on her lap. That's right. Then tell me, how about it? Why do I have to tell you? Because my sister Chan has no one to talk to now, right? This is a secret that cannot be told to outsiders. There is no way to tell my best friends, no way to tell my classmates, and no way to tell my mother. Suzue doesn't want to tell my brother, because his brother will be further affected by this. I'm worried about you. I don't want to be a burden, and I don't want to be the person who will only bring negative emotions to my brother. Every one of them is right. Sakakibara Suzu was even more embarrassed because her thoughts were completely red, and she was even more embarrassed to look at Amami Nanamajetsu, who touched her head. Ling, do you like him? There was silence for a long time. Yes. Hearing Sakakibara Suzu's reply, Amami Nanamajetsu understood clearly, and she continued to stroke her little head, because he always takes good care of you, always makes you happy, always quarrels with you, and even does it for you. It's delicious, and you've lived together for so long, so you like him, right? Yes, the weakness in Sakakibara Suzu's heart was exposed, and she touched her head again. She couldn't help but move closer to her, and took the initiative to hug her waist. That's right. After all, there are very few fools in this world. You think so too? Nature. Then what should I do, July? Amami Nanamajetsu carefully touched Sakakibara Suzu's hair and said to her. I usually don't like to speak too bluntly, but it's okay now. I also like him very much. Even after he promised me, I would pay attention to see if there were other women around him. I even went through his mobile phone. I've seen his chat history. It sounds like Chi Minjio, you are quite possessive. Even more possessive than me. Of course love is possessive, and I really want to be the only one to win. But what is the reality? The reality is that I cannot completely win over my sister. Correspondingly, it is the impossible relationship between you and him, Suzu. Well, what then? Tian Haikimingyu did not explain first, but asked, why do Ling think I agreed to take a wedding photo with my sister? You don't want to quarrel, what else could it be? Only part of Suzu's answer was correct. It was because I found that there was a conflict between I just want to win for myself and I don't want to hurt my sister, so I had to make a choice in the middle. What do you mean? Tian Haikimingyu said again. People are never satisfied. When eating grass, they think about tree bark. When eating bark, they think about vegetables. When eating vegetables, they think about bread. When eating bread, they think about meat. Desires increase layer by layer. Will only become more and more. Of course I also want to eat meat, but if I insist on pursuing meat and give up the bark and vegetable bread I got during the period, how can I pursue meat? Since I can't pursue meat, why not try to stop and enjoy the current bread? Why? Sakakibara Suzu turned around and looked at Amami Nanami, who was watching her from above. Isn't it good to eat meat? So my sister Chan is an idiot. Didn't I just say that? I can't completely defeat my sister, so I can't eat meat. And the same goes for you, Suzu. Do you think you can eat it? These words made Sakakibara Suzu fall into thinking. I really can't eat it? It's still forever. It's possible for you, but it's forever for me. So, Tian Haikimingyu continued to lower her head and said to her, if you keep thinking about eating a piece of meat that you can't eat, will you also throw away all the vegetables and bread? If Ling wants to leave, she will lose more than just things you can't have, and things you already have. I remember what my brother told you before, right? He will still make you whatever you want to eat. Whatever you want, he will accompany you when he has time. Even if you can't get the meat you want, isn't bread a precious food? Compared to nothing at the beginning, isn't bread already a precious enough thing? Sakakibara Suzu's eyes trembled when she was told that, and she even began to recall the thought she had just wanted to stay away from. In addition, Sister Chan, your idea of leaving this family is just out of anger. In anger, you want to know if your brother will come to you. If he doesn't come to you, you will give up on yourself. If he comes to find you, you will still be a little happy in your heart. That's it, right? How did you know I wanted to leave? I can understand when you say sorry to bother you when you are about to go out. Dot. The fox in July is really a fox. Tian Haikaimingu touched her head again and continued to say to her. Aren't you causing trouble to your brother? You must know that as a family member, you should not only consider yourself, but also consider whether your behavior will worry the family. When your brother sees you are gone, won't he be very worried? Are you happy? When he sees you disappear suddenly, won't he miss you? Didn't you tell me before that you and your brother have been living together for more than 10 years, and my sister and I are the latecomers? Dot. Sakakibara Suzu suddenly looked at the expressionless Amami Nanamajetsu with embarrassment. It's so strange. Her words are obviously very calm, but they give people a very gentle feeling. Like mother. Wrong. What are you thinking? Sakakihara Suzu quickly put this idea behind her and hid her blushing face on Nanamijiyo's lap. But what she said really made sense, and she really didn't care that much. She was really comforting herself. Thank you, thank you. Figured out. Think about it, reluctantly, reluctantly. Then Ling should say thank you to Sister Kyo. Sakakihara Suzuki looked at her with a sullen face. Why do you always want me to call you sister? I don't look like your sister now. Whose lap pillow are you lying on now? It does look a bit like it. Sakakihara Suzu asked her again, you really don't hate me? I hate you, but I still buy you a birthday present and give you a course syllabus for you to study. Okay. Sister July. Isn't that a good point? How about shouting it again? Sister Chi. Kyo's Sakakihara Suzu blushed even more and was so embarrassed that she wanted to hide. Good. What do you mean it's okay? I shouted so reluctantly, okay. Does Sister Ling feel better? How about we go out later and let my brother make you fried ice cream? Then let him make a pot later. Of course, let him make a pot. Amami Nanamajetsu rubbed Sakakihara Suzu's smiling head again, watching her hug her waist involuntarily. Also, my sister wants to tell Ling something. Sister Kyo, tell me. Isn't my dad's birthday tomorrow? You also know my relationship with my sister and brother, right? This knowing is knowing. If father and aunt ask Chi Ling for her opinion, how should Ling answer? Don't say anything and acquiesce, or just say yes. That's right, you're so good. Amami Nanami smiled softly, and then touched the little head of Sakakibara Suzu, who was on her lap and hugging her waist. Do you want Sister Kyo to touch your head? Want? Then I'll reward you with more rewards. Good. Sakakihara Suzu was happy for a long time when her head was touched, but her expression suddenly froze. Wrong. Myself, what are you doing? How could he actually enjoy Kyo Fox's head touch with a look of joy on his face? Simply incredible. Sakakibara Suzu came back to her senses and looked at the 7 bright moons in the sky above, and suddenly felt that the 7 bright moons were very scary. How could I, the majestic Sakakihara Suzu, a beautiful angelic girl, do such a shameful thing? She was also hugged and coaxed shamefully by Kyo Fox like a daughter. Is this something you can do? It's really intolerable. What can't be tolerated? Resist, must resist. Suzuki-chan, do you want a hug? Suzuki-chan. Yes. Sister, I want to touch my head. Well, you're so good. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 378. May is approaching. Although we experienced the same season last year, Sakakibara Raku didn't expect that it would be so hot today. Today is my uncle's birthday, and the restaurant has been booked in advance. It is a high-altitude restaurant located on the Shibuya skyline. The appointment time is at 8 o'clock in the evening. After the appointment, my mother and uncle will come here to have dinner with everyone. Regarding gifts for his uncle, Raku Sakakihara considered various exquisite souvenirs or watches with famous craftsmanship and excellent workmanship. But according to Tianhaize, her eldest brother doesn't like these things. Kiju also agreed. It's not that my uncle hates it, but collecting these things is basically equivalent to confiscation. Because as the eldest son of the Tianhai family, he never lacks these gifts. So Sakakibara Raku's decision is: make a table of the highest standard of master-class Chinese food for your uncle. When the time comes when the whole family sits down at the same table to eat in harmony, then naturally some things can be said openly and clearly. Brother, are you sure you want to tell Dad about this on his birthday? The speaker was Tianhai Kaimingyu. She held a shark head gel pen in her hand. She and Tianhai's Higsu were sitting at the rectangular table in the middle of the literature department. She was helping Tianhai's Higsu correct her history homework today. Raku Sakakihara, who was standing by the window watching baseball playing on the playground, seemed to have hit a rock. He picked up his chin and said, "Indeed, it is very, very bad to tell your uncle that I like both of your daughters on your birthday. Well, brother, it's better to give up. I support you. Although it's very bad, don't you think this is a good opportunity to confess to your uncle in Kyoto? Sooner or later, your uncle will know about everything between you and me. Since it's all a matter of time, it's better to open up and talk to your uncle. And I have always felt that my uncle was a very enlightened character." Enlightened. Tianhai Kaimingyu's voice was so brief that it had a hint of contempt. Of course, this contempt was directed at Sakakibara Raku. No matter how enlightened he is, he will be angry to death by your words. If he knew about our current relationship, he would be angry for more than half a year. Kyo doesn't seem to agree with what I'm saying now. Amamai Nanamai watched silently, and quietly said to Raku Sakakibara by the window, "Because we still don't know whether Grandpa knows about us, my suggestion is to check with Dad first and tell him that you, me, and my sister regarding the fact that they were dating at the same time, ask Grandpa about his current situation." Old man. It seems that the old man knows that he is in two different situations, because in his eyes, he and Chi Minjiao are a couple, but in school, he and Julie Yulai are actually a couple. As long as the old man hears a little bit of news and thinks with his feet, he can figure out that he is on two boats. It stands to reason. The old man should be even more angry about this matter, but why is he silent now? Even Tianhaize didn't stop several people from meeting in school. Instead, he always greeted them with a smile. The old man has accumulated a wave of ultimate moves, trying to defeat him in one fell swoop so that he can win Mary Snow. This spy movie-like situation is really confusing. The metallic sound of baseball hitting could be heard from the playground. Even if the students were staring at the bright sun, they were sweating and sweating. Raku Sakakibara withdrew his gaze from the playground of youth and passion, and turned to look at Amamai Yuki, who was being carefully taught by Amamai Nanamajetsu in the literature club. The girl is meticulous and serious. Higsu's face is actually smaller than Kiju's, and she's not as tall as Kiju. If Kiju is a beautiful woman with slender legs, then Higsu is a girl with just the right figure. Face shape, eyebrows, nose, lips, everything is just right and beautiful. These beautiful combinations, coupled with Higsu's usually completely smooth face, make her look extremely delicate and cute. Amamai no Yuki suddenly raised her head and found Raku Sakakibara looking at her. With their eyes facing each other, Tianhai's Higsu shouted first. Happy. This shout also brought Amamai Nanamajetsu, who was sitting next to her, into Sakakibara Raku's face. The girl seemed to have something to say to herself, so Sakakibara took the initiative to smile at her and said, "What's wrong? Ellie has not spoken to me recently. Didn't Xiaoqi and Xiaoju accompany you? Why doesn't Nail talk to me?" Because I am deliberately alienating you. Seeing the innocent eyes of Amami Nazuki looking at him, Sakakibara couldn't bear to say this to her. With a character like Zhigzhu, after hearing this sentence, he would probably remain silent and hide all the unhappy things in his heart, right? She is similar to July, but a little different. Chi-Chi will take the initiative to speak, but Ji-Shui will not. She will just bear this feeling stupidly and cannot even express it. Tianhai Kaimingyu calmly interjected at this time and explained. Because now Le needs to deal with the relationship between me and my sister, so I can't accompany you Zhigzhu. Amami Nazuki blinked at Amami Nanamayu, then held the pen in her little hand and said to Sakakibara Raku. Can you come to my room after my brother's birthday that night? I want to listen to the song I wrote for you, and I also want to make a video of the song to show to my fans. Sakakibara smiled. Now Zyuki can ask Kiju to make the video, right? They will also help you. That's it? Tianhai's Higsyu's voice suddenly became quieter. She saw alienation in Sakakibara Raku's answer. This kind of alienation seems familiar. Tianhai's Higsu can't remember clearly, but she vaguely remembers the feeling of folding paper cranes and giving them to her sister, but her sister wouldn't even look at him. Sakakibara Raku heard Amami Nazuki's emotions from her voice, so he smiled and said. Don't you have Zyuju and Zyuki with you now? They can do what I can do. But what? Just say it. You can do it even if you are happy. Are Zyuki and Zyuju not good to you? Very good. Then why dash? Le is the first person willing to help me make videos. This sentence was heard by Tianhai Kaimingyu. In her mind, this sentence can actually be evolved. It is not an exaggeration to replace it with the first person who is willing to care about me, the first person who is willing to cook me delicious food, and the first person who is willing to take the trouble to teach me so many things. Originally, I and my sister planned to reduce Sakakibara Raku's presence in her mind by showing concern for Amami no Yuki. Now it seems that the effect is not without effect, but Amami no Yuki will still feel sad because Sakakibara Raku has alienated her. In other words, Tianhai's Higsu has fallen in love with him. Unless Tianhai's Higsu doesn't like him, Higsu will still care about this. Nanami interrupted the conversation between the two, and took the initiative to talk about some small daily things to attract Yuki's attention, and motioned for Sakakibara Raku to go out first. Then I'm going to find Liulai. She should be practicing in the piano room now. Go ahead. Tianhai Kaimingyu waved her hand to him, and at the same time noticed that Tianhai's Higsu had been watching him leave. Yuki, what do you want to say? Now Tianhai's Higsu seems to have lost the lazy and dazed look before. She seems to have ideas and emotions in her heart. Xiaoqi. Everyone seems to be like this. She lowered her head and said softly. Yet Tianhai Kaimingyu listened patiently as an audience. Everyone will stay away from me. Mom, Dad, brothers, and sisters. Everyone is like this. Tianhai Kaimingyu knew Yuki's situation and understood what her words contained. Mother, whom she had never met. My father, because of my mother's death, ignored her for many years. Brother, we haven't exchanged a few words with each other because of various things. Her sisters also stayed away from her in every possible way because of her mother's death due to her birth. Even Tianhaize, who had taken some care of her, later went abroad to study. It seems that around her, everyone is far away or will stay away from her. So much so that every time I took her to McDonald's, she would stare at the poster of a family of 3 holding hands for a while. From the perspective of peers, friends, and sisters, Tianhai Minjiu wants her to be loved. Because Yuki is equivalent to herself when she was a child. But as Sakakibara Raku's lover, he and she are rivals. Such a contradictory mentality. Let Tianhai Minjiu recall the days when she had conflicts with her sister. Tianhai Kaimingyu is now tired. She doesn't want to get into that kind of life and death fight again. What's more, Yuki is still a simple girl who only wants to be slaughtered. Yuki. Do you think your brother hates you now? It should be that Le doesn't want to listen to the song I wrote for him. Amamai Nanamajetsu knew about the fact that Yuki played the piano for Sakakibara Raku, and also heard the whole process of Yuki expressing her love for being rejected. After that, Zhigzhu fell into the old habit of forgetting some things and forgetting many things in a daze. Playing the piano is among them. Why does Zhigzhu want to play the piano for my brother? Layan took me snacks, carried me up the mountain, and took me to see beautiful whales and rainbows. Tianhai Chi Minjiao remembered a Ling who was lying in her arms yesterday. The more you get to know the people around Sakakibara Raku, the more you understand how sinful this guy is. He always likes to give infinite love to those who lack love, but does not satisfy them. He abandons them a second time, which is equivalent to giving hope and making people fall into the abyss. It's actually evil. Zhigzhu is similar but different from a Ling. The similarity is their unrequited relationship, but the difference is that Ling understands her own identity, while Zhigzhu actually has a glimmer of hope. Now that he doesn't want to be the villain who banishes Zhigzhu back, he also wants to retain his position and identity. Then, you can try to compromise the requirements and relax some conditions. Just like the feelings towards my sister Chan. Sister Chan can just post Sakakibara Raku, but Amamai Nanamai will not say anything when she sees it. The most important reason is that Sakakibara is measured. Never mind. I'll talk to my sister later and ask this guy not to alienate Zhigzhu so deliberately. She is also a poor child. After figuring this out, Tianhai Kaimingyu began to guide Tianhai Zhigzhu's emotions and chat with her. There was nothing else to talk about. Zhigzhu became very happy when she heard Le will cook her new delicious food tomorrow. Of course, this is something that Nanamai helped Sakakibara Raku agree to. Thank you, Xiaoqi, for telling me so much. Tianhai Zhigzhu buried her face in Tianhai Chi Minjiao's arms and was held by her, her voice weak. Nothing. Are you feeling happier? Also, you want to call me Sister Kyo. Sister July. It's very sweet as my sister Chan shouts when she acts coquettishly towards him. However, Zhigzhu looked more like a clingy kitten than her younger sister Chan, who kept scratching her head in her arms. With Tianhai Kaimingyu pressed against her like this, he reached out to touch her head and hook her chin. Under these actions, Tianhai Zhigzhu's expression was squinting and enjoying lazily. Zhigzhu, do you still remember what I said to you before? Remember? I have taken notes. What is it? You can ask Le for a hug, you can act coquettishly to Le, you can kiss Lee's face, but you can't have too close contact with Le, and you can't take off your clothes in front of Le, or get naked in front of Le, or give him a kiss. Enjoy rubbing your chest. What else would happen? Otherwise, my father will take me home, and I won't be able to see you happily. Sister Kyo and Sister Liulai will also be angry. Very good, very good. Tianhai Kaimingyu touched Tianhai Zhigzhu's head in her arms like a reward. Then what do you want to say to your father and brother? She said she likes music, but it's because she likes my brother. Yuki, just remember it. Tianhai Kaimingyu continued to touch her head gently. Sister Kyo. I'm here to find you. A loud voice suddenly appeared at the door of the literature department classroom. Sakakibara Suzu smiled, but stopped suddenly. Because she saw Tianhai Kaimingyu, who was gently stroking her head yesterday. At this moment, she was actually holding another woman and stroking her head. Asterisk. Hum. I'm going out to celebrate my uncle's birthday today. Sakakibara Suzu hummed a little tune, said goodbye to her best friend Tiano, put on her small school bag and prepared to walk from the teaching building to the classroom of the Department of Literature. Of course, what I am happy about is not that I will have what I call a big meal in the evening, but that I now have time to play with Sister Kyo. Ah, who doesn't like having Sister Kyo touching her head tenderly and resting on her lap? Elder sister. Elder sister. Hey hey hey. It's also nice to have a sister. You can also act coquettishly to her or something like that. Anyway, Sakakihara Suzu had been thinking about it all day. When she went to bed last night, she also went to find Sister Kyo to sleep with her. I also hold her to sleep at night. However, when she pushed open the door of the literature department classroom and shouted Sister July, with enthusiasm. But he found that Sister Kyo, whom he had been thinking about all day, was tenderly hugging another woman and stroking her head. Fox. That's my place. Sakakibara Suzu was eager to shout out the voice in her heart immediately, but when she saw that Nanamijiya was holding Yuki, Sakakibara Suzu suddenly woke up again. No, why are you jealous? When Amami Nanami-yuki saw Sakakibara Suzu at the door and heard her voice calling her, she showed great interest and waved. Suzuki-chan, come here. Sakakibara Suzu walked over cheerfully, pulled a small stool and sat in front of Amami Nanamijetsu. How is Suzu-chan doing today? Tian Haikimingyu deliberately showed a gentle look. Awesome. Then do you want me to reward you with a pat on the head? As soon as she heard this, Sakakihara Suzu became excited, squinted her eyes and smiled, nodding her head, I want it. While Amami Kaimingyu held Amami's Higsu, she put her hand on her sister Chan's head. The slightly raised corners of her mouth showed that she was very happy now. Okay, you are so good, Suzu-chan is as good as Yuki. I should be better behaved. Yep. Although there is still some dissatisfaction in my heart. But Sakakihara Suzu really likes Nanamijetsu touching her head. It feels very comfortable when touched. If you want to ask why, it's because I always think about the shy look on Chi Minjio's lap pillow. Sister. Huh? Still want to touch me? Sister Kyo, I want to touch my head too. Seeing that Sakakibara Suzu was being touched all the time, Amami no Yuki shouted to her from the knee pillow of Amami Chi Minjio. Sister Sakakihara Suzu expressed her dissatisfaction, saying it herself first. Sister Kyo Tianhai's Higsu also wanted it. Sister. Sister July. Sister. Sister July. Yeah, don't worry, we have everything. The atmosphere was very harmonious. Only Raku Sakakibara, who then came to the door with Kuruuri, fell into confusion when he saw Nanami Nanamijetsu stroking the little heads of two girls in the literature club. He originally came to call a few people to go to the restaurant first, but he didn't expect to see such a scene. When did their relationship become so good? Aling kept calling Kyo, sister. Is it so comfortable to have your head touched? Strange. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 379. Dry, hot air enveloped the entire Tokyo, and the school buildings were twisted and deformed under the scorching sun. And when the school was over, students poured out of the classrooms on all floors and blocked the place where they could change their shoes before leaving the school gate. The uncomfortable feeling suddenly doubled several times. In such sultry weather, the team remained motionless and had to endure being double-teamed by male students. The smell of sweat from the classmates in front fermented in the crowded air, which made Sakakibara pinch his nose in bitterness. Raku Sakakihara finally put on outdoor shoes at the entrance of the school building, walked out to the playground, and finally saw the four girls waiting for him under the shade of a tree. Brother, you are so slow. Sakakibara Suzu held Amami Nanamijetsu's arms with both hands. She stood in the shade of a tree to hide from the sun, with some mottled tree shadows on her dissatisfied little face. Although she was complaining, Sakakihara Raku felt that seeing her sister's cute appearance at this time was so comfortable that it was beyond words. Compared with men who don't know how to take care of themselves and often work out and are smelly of sweat, aren't girls who always dress up, take showers every day, and pay attention to their own fragrance more pleasing to the eye? The answer is yes. Absolutely sure, and in this hot weather. I went to the restroom on the way, but there were too many people when I came out after, Raku Sakakibara explained. He looked up and down at Suzu Sakakibara, who was holding Amami Nanamajetsu's right arm. The two sisters were extremely cordial and even held hands. This reminded Raku Sakakibara of Suzu, who was touched by Chi-Chi when he saw her in the literature club, and her expression suddenly became strange. What kind of expression do you have? I'm just curious about how good your relationship is. Of course. Sakakibara Suzu raised her chin and closed her eyes with a proud expression. She even held Chi-Chi's hand in her arms and moved her whole body closer to Chi Minjio. This is my sister Chiu. Sister Kiu. There's also sister Liulai. Sakakibara Suzu held both Amami Nanamajetsu and Amami Kuruori in her arms, and at the same time made a face at Sakakibara Raku. Are you still so proud? Didn't you shout like a fox in July and a fox in July a while ago? Sakakibara Raku didn't know what happened, but the good relationship between Isuzu and Kiyoruri was something Sakakibara Raku was happy to see. Aling has now accepted that she, Kiyo and Liulai are dating at the same time. Sakakibara is very happy that she can still be so happy in this situation. Let's go to Shibuya first. Sakakibara waved to everyone and took one step ahead, walking in front. After crossing the street and getting on the tram, Tian Haikiming Liulai and Ling sat on the right side of the carriage and started chatting about the daily life of school. Sakakibara Raku was standing in the middle of the carriage, holding the tram ring and checking his cell phone. Amami Nanamajetsu and Amami Nizuki were sitting together, and she noticed that Yuzuki had been looking at Sakakibara Raku's profile. The eyes were still motionless. Tian Haikiming has seen this look before. Or she knew. Probably, this is what I like. Asterisk. Shibuya skyline. As one of the most famous attractions in Tokyo, it is naturally also the most prosperous area in the city. As for why he chose this place to celebrate his birthday, Tian Haimadayan knew that there was a high-end restaurant on the 45th floor that belonged to Chi Minjio's foundation. The scenery there is good, and you can also use the kitchen freely, allowing people in the restaurant to prepare ingredients in advance. Amami Modani drove the car, and Amami Miwa, who was in the passenger seat, stopped in the parking lot on the second floor of the building. After turning off the engine and taking out the key to the Audi A6, Tian Haimadayan looked through the rearview mirror and accidentally saw the bouquet of white rose flowers placed on the back seat of the vehicle. This was something she suddenly gave to me when I was accompanying Maihi shopping just now. He had received many gifts in his life, but only when he saw this bouquet of rose flowers, he felt a strange emotion in his heart. This is probably because as you get older, you still experience the strangeness of living like a couple. With this thought in his mind, Amami Madenori unbuckled his seat belt. Ale, boy, are you going to cook a table of food for me today? He mainly wants to apologize to you, Tian Haimi, he said with a smile. Amami Madenori didn't want to make the atmosphere too stiff. He held the steering wheel and sighed and said, the meal cooked for me is obviously to please me deliberately because he wants me to accept his relationship with Kiju. Perhaps Ale also sincerely wants to help you celebrate your birthday. It's possible, but I always feel that he has settled the relationship with Kyu and Liulai now. Now he comes here to help me celebrate my birthday and to touch my bottom. Tian Haimadayan hesitated to speak. As a father, he is fully qualified to say something about Sakakibara Raku, that naughty boy behind his back, but that naughty boy is also the son of his current wife. Considering his wife, Amami Shigenori does not want to say anything about him in front of a mother. Bad words about my son. Perhaps it was Amami Miwa who noticed that Amami Madenori had stopped speaking, and she took the initiative to put her hand on his arm and said to him, You don't have to worry about me at all. Since this is a reunited family, Midori, you can be considered his father. He has done something wrong. You should criticize him, and even punish him. As a mother, I actually don't know what to do. Go and persuade him. Because Ellie has been very sensible since he was a child and doesn't let people worry about him. Rather than educating him since he was a child, it's better to say that I asked him to take more care of the family. As a mother, I have given them only its just living expenses. Tianhai Maihi's position is very awkward. Tianhai Madayan knew this and pondered for a while before saying. Miwa. Huh? So serious all of a sudden. What do you think of Ali's idea? He wants Li Yulai and Kyo at the same time. I don't agree with this at all. Amamai Modnori closed his eyes and nodded. Miwa's answer in his heart was exactly what he thought, but in fact, Miwa, even if you don't agree with this, you know very well that we can't influence the thoughts of these children, right? This sentence also made Tianhai Maihi calm down a lot. Compared to ordinary children, they are more independent. According to their abilities, they are completely able to escape from us. Yes, but they did not choose to leave. Instead, they took the initiative to tell me about this. Maihi, why do you think this is because of this? Maid Nori. After being quiet for a long time, Amamai Miwa kept staring at Amamai Shigenori's expression. She tried to ask, you already have the answer in your heart, right? The answer is actually very simple. That is, these children still have feelings for themselves and recognize their father's identity. Precisely because he recognized his identity, he wanted to come and talk to himself. Unknowingly, he became the weaker party. Would Mihi allow his son to have two girlfriends at the same time? Do you want to hear the truth, or lies? Seriously? Well, that's good. In fact, in my opinion, as long as the two girls agree and Ale is also willing, I will agree. After hearing the answer, Tianhai Madayan pondered for a moment and looked at his watch. Forget it, 7:30, it's almost time. Let's get out of the car and go upstairs. I guess the Chinese food Ziyao served me has already been prepared. Tianhai Maihi nodded, okay. The two left the parking lot and walked into the building of the high-end restaurant. They walked along the smooth marble floor and entered the elevator. Tianhai Madayan pressed the button on the 45th floor, the floor where the restaurant is located. The elevator door opened, and a fresh aroma hit my face, accompanied by elegant music. They walked out of the elevator and came to the restaurant on the 45th floor. The decoration inside the restaurant is gorgeous and exquisite. The high ceiling is decorated with exquisite chandeliers, reflecting soft lighting, and the tables are filled with exquisite tableware and flowers. The surrounding walls use large floor-to-ceiling glass windows, allowing guests to have a panoramic view of the bustling scenery of Tokyo. Many well-dressed and elegant people sat quietly at various tables. Welcome, a polite waiter came up to them and bowed to them with a smile. Obviously the waiter was prepared. He recognized the two of them and immediately stretched out his hand to signal them to go to the private room in the restaurant. The box is circular in shape, with a large round table in the middle. The curved floor-to-ceiling glass is very spacious. Amamai Yuki and Sakeki Harasuzu were sitting on the left side of the large round table. She seemed to be watching some video for Yuki. Ah, uncle, you are here. Sakeki Harasuzu stood up quickly when she saw her mother and stepfather entering from the door. Well, sit down, and Bell. After a few simple promises, Amamai maid Nori pulled out a stool at the round table and sat down with his wife. His attention was now completely attracted by the dishes on the table. Steamed lobster, black truffle roast duck, huadiao drunken crab, braised bird's nest and braised snow pear. The lobster is steamed just right, retaining its delicious taste and sweet meat, and is also covered with a carefully prepared steaming sauce, which seems to exude the delicious aroma of seafood every moment. The tender duck meat has been specially processed and grilled with black truffle sauce, so that the aroma of duck meat is perfectly combined with the unique aroma of black truffle. There is a piece of duck meat in a cut-up state, and the tender and juicy interior alone is enough to whet your appetite. The crab meat is full of wine and has a dazzling light. This brat really knows how to cook Chinese food? Is this all his doing? Having worked in high-end restaurants for decades, Tianhai fully understands how difficult it is to cook dishes of this level. Chefs in high-end restaurants are not just hired. He has met many chefs in his life, the youngest of whom is only in his 30s. The profession of chef always relies on professional skills honed over and over again. This is not a day's work. Tianhai doesn't think it's strange that ILE can make delicious home-cooked dishes. But these are already high-end dishes for distinguished guests, right? Each one is extremely time-consuming and each one requires extreme cooking skills and experience. But Alok is only 18 years old. Where did he learn so much knowledge about Chinese food? When Amamai maid Nori saw these dishes, he glanced at Amamai Miwa in surprise. He found that his wife was also in an unknowing state. Do you know Chinese food? I've been to many high-end Chinese restaurants. From a chef's perspective, how do these dishes sound? I can't comment on this, but in terms of aroma and appearance, they are all qualified in Michelin restaurants. Tianhai Mihi saw her husband's confused look and smiled awkwardly. I didn't teach you, even if I know some Chinese food, but I don't know these. Weird. Very strange. It was as weird as that kid learning financial management over there, as if he could learn everything very quickly. It shouldn't be said that it's fast, but it's ridiculously fast. For example, if the baby is just born and others are still babbling, then he has already run several kilometers. This is how Sakakihara Raku feels to himself sometimes. Shijano Ryamamai carefully observed the steamed Australian lobster and asked Suzu Sakakibara, who was playing on her mobile phone. Ling, your brother did all this? Yes, Suzu Sakakihara nodded matter-of-factly. My brother came over to cook it as soon as school was over. Sister Liulai and Sister Kia were both helping him in the kitchen. There are still 2 dishes left. When did your brother learn Chinese food? Chinese food? He's always been good at it. Since he was a kid, he would make me some weird dishes that I've never heard of before. Not to mention, they're all quite delicious. This Chinese food is not that Chinese food. What I cook at home is just home-cooked food. This is high-end food that can be used as a brand for high-end restaurants. In terms of the level of care and attention to detail, they are simply not on the same level. These are not the perfect urban areas that can be solved by looking at the recipe once. Amamai maid Nori thought about it for a long time but couldn't figure it out, and even when he asked Miwa, he didn't get any answers. In the end, Amamai Shigenori could only attribute the reason to Sakakihara Raku learning these dishes several times in advance in order to celebrate his birthday. This kid. I have long been jealous of my 2 daughters. After thinking about this, Amamai maiden Nori's thoughts became smoother, but at the same time, he felt even more helpless in his heart. After waiting for about half an hour, the next few dishes were served one after another. Grilled vegetables in oyster sauce, crab rosai long bao and crispy suckling pig. Amamai maiden Nori's eyes twitched when he saw it. How many dishes was this kid cooking at the same time? Uncle, uncle. How? Uncle, sit here, in this position. Amamai Madayan glanced at the position in front of him, which was a position directly above the floor-to-ceiling glass windows. In layman's terms, it is the high position where the elders sit. The brat is really good at getting close. Seeing Raku Sakakibara's smiling face and seeing him cooking such a large table of dishes, Shimanori Amamai, who originally wanted to attack him, suppressed his words. Uncle, uncle, this is the beer I made specially for you, using red dates, wolfberry, rock sugar, and snow pears. Uncle, I heard from my mother that you really like lobster. Would you like to try this lobster? Um. Uncle, this roast duck with black truffle is actually pretty good. Uncle, would you like to try it? Um. Uncle, let me get some meat for you. Um. Uncle, do you need me to give you some food? Amamai made Nori was completely speechless by his care. On the other hand, Amamai Miwa and Sakakibara Suzu couldn't help laughing when they saw their son/brother showing such enthusiasm. Tianhai Kaimingyu and Tianhai's Higsu took another look, and Tianhai Julie Yulai was also covering her mouth and snickering. Uncle, you. Okay, okay, I'm your stepfather and not your boss, why are you so enthusiastic? Sakakibara sat back down and continued to ask with a normal smile. Uncle, what do you think of the food I cooked today? Is it to your liking, uncle? Amamai Shigenori glanced at the brat a few more times. There was something hidden behind his words. On the surface, he was asking if the food was to his liking, but in reality, he was asking if it was to his own liking. Tian Haimadayan put down the chopsticks in his hands and said to him. What you think? There is still a lot to be done, Sakakihara said immediately, and then changed the topic, but I will work harder to satisfy your uncle. The brat is quite naughty. He really liked the food. In a practical sense, he likes it. He has been eating it for decades, and few chefs can match this brat's level. I don't know where I learned such superb cooking skills. In fact, Tian Haimadayan was already mentally prepared when facing these problems. Because this brat made his thoughts clear to himself that day in the hospital. As a father, he was unwilling to agree. Which father would be willing to marry two daughters to the same man at the same time? But, it has come to this. If you don't want to break up this family. If you don't want to turn against your two daughters. If you want your two daughters to get the happiness they want, let them make their own choices. Then, we can't drive this brat away. Putting aside the fact that he flirted with his two daughters, this brat can be considered an excellent person. In terms of ability, he can also take good care of Chi Minjia or Julie Yulai. He is even better than himself. At least, he can give Kia or Li Yulai real care about their family. Alas, alas, alas. With 3 sighs in his heart, Amamai made Nori felt that it was necessary to talk about this issue openly now. He was halfway through his birthday meal when he took the initiative to stop. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 380. Lu Li. Luli thinks I should talk to my uncle about what happened between us later. Amamai Kururi, who was watching Sakakibara Raku curiously as he handled lobsters, heard Sakakihara Raku Sakakibara put his hands behind his back and looked sideways at his gaze. The girl winked at him, then smiled and said. Lejun has already made up his mind, right? Why are you still asking me? Raku Sakakihara continued to handle the lobster shrimp. He made a shallow cut along the back of the lobster with the kitchen knife in his hand, inserted the knife into the cut position, and then cut it into 2 halves along the back of the lobster. There was no unnecessary movement in this swordsmanship, which surprised Tianhai Julie Yulai. Sakakihara Raku said with a smile while handling the ingredients. Aren't you my wife? When the husband wants to do something, even if he has a choice in mind, is it not normal to ask for his wife's opinion? Tianhai Julie Yulai looked at him blankly. Sure enough, within 2 seconds, Sakakihara Raku felt his back being slapped shyly by the girl. Who is your wife? Sakakibara, who was still handling the lobster, suddenly laughed. Isn't it? No, that's not true. That's July. Kyo, Tianhai Julie Yulai became a little dissatisfied, looked at him with resentful eyes, and emphasized, "Then Kyo is not your wife? She is just a girlfriend, just a girlfriend. But if I call my wife in July, she will acquiesce." "That's because she didn't want to answer Chi-Chi. Don't think I haven't seen the look she gave you when you called her that." Tianhaijuli Yuli's answer seemed irritated and dissatisfied, which was far from her usual dignified and generous image in school and on the podium. Sakaki Hararaku actually thinks that Ruri is so cute, turning into an angry little girlfriend, both delicate and fierce. "Brother, if you say that, my sister will definitely be jealous." Tianhaichi Minjiao, who was secretly eating tomatoes from the kitchen behind the two of them, heard the discussion between the two. She looked around to see if there was anything else delicious in the kitchen of her restaurant. I know. However, if you call me wife in front of my sister, I can reluctantly accept it." July. "Ah, my sister is angry, but if she doesn't accept it, it's quite nice to give it to me. I'm happy to use the things my sister has used." July. "I suggest my sister not to speak so loudly, otherwise she will be heard by the chefs in the main kitchen next door, which will have a bad influence on her. Sister, please don't come over. I'm still washing vegetables." The 7 bright moons in the sky groaned softly. Sakakibara turned around and saw that it was Juliuli who was tickling her waist from behind Chi Minjiao. "That's too much, sister. My brother heard what I just said." Tianhai Kaimingyu, who was pressed against the cupboard, turned around and faced Tianhai Juliuli behind her. Tianhai Juliuli's hand was still on her sister's waist, and the two sisters were very close. Probably not wanting Raku Sakakibara to hear, the two of them talked about the whispers between sisters. "It's obviously your intention in Kyo. You actually said that I was going too far, and you only went too far when you and I were taking a shower together." Tianhai Juliuli glared at her sister and questioned fiercely. "I just used the techniques my sister likes." July Tianhai Juliuli blushed and complained, "How can anyone talk like this outside? Anyway, only my sister and I can hear it, so it doesn't matter." Raku Sakakihara continued to handle the lobster, but did not hear the whispers the two sisters said afterward. But after the two sisters finished talking, Tianhai Juliuli came back again. "What did Liuli say to Kyo just now?" "It's not something Lejun wants to tell his father." "Huh? Do you have any discussion results or suggestions?" When talking about this serious matter, Tianhai Juliuli became more serious. "My father actually knows what Kyo and I think. In his heart, he has never had any feelings for Kyo and me since he was a child. Basically, he will not arrange our lives and ideas in Kyo. To put it simply, my father respects my and Kyo's opinions. But respect is respect. In modern society, it is very strange for two daughters to be with one man at the same time, right? Luli, there are many such things in modern society. I know there are quite a few, but I'm talking about tradition and correct concepts. If it were you, Lejun, would you let me and your two daughters be with a man?" Although this is just an example, Liuli can even say the words "me and your two daughters" now. This shows that Liuli is very willing to follow and believe in herself. This made Sakaki Hararaku very happy. Seeing Liuli's jewel-like sky blue eyes, he could even imagine how cute and beautiful the daughter they shared could be. "I'm sure I can't bear to part with any of them," Sakakibara replied. "That's right," Tianhai Juliuli immediately added, "since Lejun would think so, then why wouldn't my father feel uncomfortable when he knew about it? Although my father is not a very traditional person, he is very good at love and marriage. In fact, they are quite conservative. Even during the divorce, my father tried to trust my mother." "Well, so what Liuli wants to say is Tianhai Juliuli said seriously. "So we owe our father this matter." Sakakihara was confused. "Isn't this the way it is?" "That's not entirely true. Lejun didn't consider Kyo's relationship with my father. In my father's opinion, we are both very independent and thoughtful people. There is a high probability that my father will think that if he doesn't agree to our in my opinion, Kyo and I will follow you abroad instead. Although this is true, it is also a very hurtful behavior for my father. After hearing this, Sakakihara nodded in thought. Indeed, even if the relationship is not particularly good, no father wants to see his two daughters stay away from him. What dad has been pursuing all his life is a happy family. This is true for resisting my grandfather, and this is also true for resisting the family's suppression in order for my sister and I to live a better life and have more favorable living conditions. Liulai explained here. Sakakihara Raku also gradually understood what she wanted to express. Uncle, he doesn't want a broken family. And because he had not cared about Liulai and Kyo since childhood, he would also compromise with their ideas. After all, we still have to keep a happy home. Nowadays, even if his bastard thoughts are enough to slap him in the face for the rest of his life, there is still hope. Between perfection and complete fragmentation, there is a high probability that my uncle will make a compromise. Time returns to the present. This is also the reason why Raku Sakakihara is so passionate about his uncle now. At this moment, Sakakibara Raku had already seen Shigenori Amamai put down the chopsticks in his hand directly above him. Along with his action of putting down his chopsticks, there were also the gazes in the entire private room. Amamai Kuruori and Amamai Nanamai knew that their father wanted to take the initiative to bring up this topic. Amamai Miwa knew that Shigenori wanted to take the initiative to explain the relationship between them clearly. Sakakibara Suzu felt that her brother would definitely be scolded by his uncle later. The steamed lobster made by Amamai no Yuki Sakakibara is really delicious. Atmosphere. Somewhat nervous. But Tianhimadayan closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and asked a very ordinary and non-elderly question, which instantly relaxed the atmosphere a lot. Tell me what you are thinking now. Sakakibara originally thought that his uncle would put up a front and talk to him, but he was already prepared to face his uncle's scolding and criticism. But now his uncle actually started the conversation with him in such a calm tone, which made Sakakibara suddenly have several conjectures in his mind. He may even wonder if this is the calm before the storm. As long as he behaves slightly differently to his liking, he will reject him outright. You think I've already heard your thoughts, so now you don't think you need to repeat it to me again. Amamai Shigenori's voice reminded Sakakibara Raku to react. He shook his head, looked directly at his uncle's gaze, and took the initiative to explain. Not at all. As for my thoughts, uncle, I kindly ask you to allow me to date Kyo and Liulai at the same time. Sakakibara looked directly at himself when he said this. His words were sincere and his actions showed it. His words once again brought silence to the atmosphere in the private room. Amamai Shigenori wanted to know what Miwa thought after hearing his son's words, what Suzu thought, Kyo and Liulai. This brat should have communicated with the sisters in advance. We had communicated with each other, so I deliberately created an atmosphere on my birthday. This stinky boy Ellie has been busy working for most of the day. The dish that tastes pretty good is really unpalatable. There are many emotions in my heart. But when he heard it again, Amamai made Nori felt that he suddenly didn't have the urge to slap him as hard as he had when he heard it for the first time. Yes. Even if you know what he said is stupid. Even though I knew what he said was unreasonable. Even if I knew what he said, as a father, I couldn't agree with him at all. But just I don't want to scold this brat. He just felt how could his two daughters fall on this brat's head at the same time. But as soon as this question came up, Tianhimadayan thought about the things between them again. He also felt that it was reasonable for his two daughters to fall on him. The daughter who lacked love met her step-brother who gave them perfect care and family warmth. In addition, in order to be worthy of his two daughters, this brat learned a lot of knowledge from him and did many things to them. In terms of ability, this brat can make money and cook. In terms of personality, this brat can also provide them with care and love. In terms of appearance, this brat is not inferior even by his own aesthetic standards. If you want to find fault with him, you can really only make an issue based on his relationship with Liuli in July. Think about it so carefully. I feel like I'm not doing as well as him. It's better to be better than it is. I am not a person who can only put on airs. As long as it is reasonable and practical, I will admit it. Amamai Shigenori picked up the chopsticks again. After thinking about this, he said to Sakakibara Raku, who had been waiting for him to speak for a long time. Do you think what you said is correct? That's not true at all, Sakakibara replied. Since you don't think it is right, how can you still say this to me, in front of your stepfather, biological mother, and sister? Amamai Maidenori's words were unhurried, but there was a faint sense of calm and pressure. It feels like those powerful old men we usually see in TV dramas. Their subordinates are kneeling on the floor while they eat simple meals leisurely. But it's not a TV show right now. Uncle's image, words, and actions all appeared in front of him very clearly. This reality is so close that Raku Sakakibara can feel the displeasure in his uncle's heart right now. Sakakibara looked at his uncle's eating movements and said, "This is what I have to say." "Must you say it? Why do you have to say it?" "Uncle, you know, my experience and relationship with Kyo and Liuli. Kyo and Liuli are both the kind of people who are willing to die alone. I owe them both, and I also want to take care of them." Emotions. Basically every day in July, she sits alone in the classroom of the Department of Literature. Because of her personality and identity, she has never been able to talk to the classmates in the class. For so many years, she has never had any real friends. Every time I hear behind my back, some classmates talked about the derogatory name eldest lady they privately called Chi-Chi. I could more or less understand Chi-Chi's mood of being alone. When she was a child, she sat alone under the bus stop, her feet I was injured. I waited all morning on a rainy day, but my mother didn't come to find her. Now when I think back on the past, I still feel sorry for the one who was wet all over, lying on my back, holding me tightly, weak. Until the trembling July. Luli was also distressed before. She listened to her mother countless times and was used by her mother as a tool to realize her dreams countless times. Even in front of me, her mother had to say to Liuli, "I have never taken you for granted." The reason why her daughter is so excessive. Liuli is so willing to listen to her mother is because she has not been able to have a normal family since she was a child. She lacks love. It is also because she lacks love that she wants to love others. She is so kind to her classmates in school and she would do whatever she could to help. She would knit towels for me before I took the plane to leave Tokyo, get up in the middle of the night to help me pack my suitcase and clothes, and was reluctant to let me leave her side because she always "I am extremely sorry for what happened before." Sakakibara looked at his uncle and continued. "It is precisely because of these things and these feelings that I want to take care of Kyo and Liuli. I want to take care of Kyo's mood so that she will no longer be so withdrawn. I want to support Liuli and let her find her own life. Target. That's why, uncle, I tell you these thoughts and hope to get your approval and recognition. As their father, you also understand what they need in their hearts. I can give them such feelings. It can make them live happier in this world. Uncle, of course you don't have to believe me. But even if you don't believe me, I will try my best to do this best." Sakakibara Raku spoke a long paragraph in one breath. It was not just Tianhai Maihi who was speechless. There are also Kuruori, Nanamayuki, and Sakakibara Suzu. Amamai Miwa knew the least about the relationship status of the two stepdaughters, and after hearing such a long passage from her son, she realized that they had such a psychological journey. Both Kururi Nanamajetsu and Sakakibara Suzu knew about each other's situation, so they both chose to acquiesce and agreed with what Sakakibara Raku said. Tianhaimadayan did not reply after listening. He understood what this brat was talking about. What this brat said is true. Since your relationship has reached this point, why bother asking for my opinion? In fact, in your eyes, my opinion should be the least needed, right? No, definitely not. Sakakihara answered immediately and firmly to his uncle, and continued, Uncle, your opinion is also very important. Uncle's opinion is also necessary for me, Kyo and Ruri. No matter what your marital status is, no matter what their marital status is, uncle's opinion is also very important. How does your mother Bertha treat them? These are not your original intentions. From Kyo and Liulai, I learned some information about your uncle. Uncle, you have always wanted to give them a complete family, right? My uncle knew what their mother did to them from before the divorce. From before the divorce, my uncle understood what kind of person their mother was. Since before the divorce, my uncle has noticed these things and tried to discuss with my aunt, hoping that she would improve. Isn't this your uncle's expression of your father's love for Kyo and Liulai? I still remember Kyo and Liulai telling me that when they were children, they sat on your lap and you read to them in the study and told them stories. Uncle, you actually wanted to focus on your family from the beginning. You changed your attitude towards Kyo and Liulai, but because of what happened to the Tianhai family later, your uncle was too busy to take care of the family. But even so, uncle, you will still try to educate Kyo and Liulai, teach them etiquette and knowledge as a father. For Kyo and Liulai, even though you rarely take care of the family and rarely come home, uncle, what you said to them and what you gave them is really what you can give as a father. For Kyo and Liulai, even if you have flaws, uncle, you still manage to raise them well and become what they are today. Isn't this considered a father? Because of this, uncle, your opinion is very important to Kyo and Liulai, as well as to me. It is not insignificant. Sakakihara Raku spoke fluently again, causing Amamai Shigenori to fall into silence again. Because what this brat said is true. They all spoke to their own hearts. I don't know if Liulai and Kyo told him so many things that he could almost guess what he was thinking. But these are not important now. The important thing is that he, Liulai and Kyo are indeed asking for their opinions. Ask for advice as their father. More than 10 years. I have asked myself more than once, am I qualified to be Liulai and Kyo's father? How can a man who only gives them money as birthday gifts be qualified to be their father? This question has been lingering in my mind for many years. Now, he said it through the mouth of a brat who stole his 2 daughters. This is really. Fate plays tricks on people. Self-deprecating is self-deprecating. It is undeniable that this kid is speaking completely from his heart. He was actually poked in the weak ribs by the brat, which made him, his stepfather, a little uncomfortable. Seeing that Amamai Shigenori did not refute him, Sakakihara Raku continued to pursue the victory. Uncle, now Kyo and Liulai have reconciled, and they are willing to date me at the same time. What do you mean, your wish, isn't it to respect your daughter's choice to the greatest extent? Amamai Madayan began to think that if he couldn't accept it, he would subjectively change his daughter's mind. So what's the difference between this and an old man who pressures several of his sisters to get married for his own wishes? The old man always believed that the person he matched with would be the greatest happiness his sister could have. Imposing your own ideas on your children without respecting their opinions. If Chi Minjio and Liulai both agree, but he still refuses, wouldn't he become the second old man again? In terms of fatherly love, he has already followed the old man's path, but now he really doesn't want to be like the old man again. What he resisted since childhood was the shackles that his father blindly imposed on him. Uncle, since you have to respect your daughter's choice, then under the condition that they will both be happy, this situation can be considered a good ending, right? Everyone will be happy, and our family will continue. I will also take care of it in the future. Come and visit your uncle with your grandchildren. This made Amami Shigenori take another look at Sakakibara Raku. This brat still has the nerve to say this? The children of my two daughters are all the children of a brat like you, right? But Sakakibara's words were sincere and his attitude was serious, which made Amami Shigenori not refute him. So, uncle, I can kindly ask you to agree to my relationship with your two daughters. I promise that it will make them both happier in the future. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 381. After hearing this, Amami Maidenori's first thought was not whether what he said was correct or not, but that this kid was such a shameless bastard. Even though he didn't want to interfere with his two daughters' choices, even though his expression and tone were serious and sincere, it didn't stop him from feeling that this kid was deliberately acting rogue in front of him and abducting his two daughters. Angry. I would indeed be angry, if it weren't for the fact that my two daughters, my wife, and my stepdaughter were watching, and they assigned this brat a few slaps. What does uncle agree to my relationship with your two daughters mean, and I will bring your grandchildren to visit you in the future mean? If you say these bastard words to an ordinary father, why don't you send this brat to a mental hospital? If it weren't for the fact that you, a brat like you, are so pleasing to the eye, if it wasn't for the fact that you, a brat like you, are still capable of taking care of Kiju, if it wasn't for the fact that you, a brat like you, had indeed given Kiju a better family, Amami Midori thought about it and sighed inwardly. Chi-Chi and Luli were really sad to have lost this brat. The biggest difference between this guy and a gangster is that his words are true and his actions are also true. What he just said is right. Kyo and Liuli do respect their father, even if they don't fully agree with their father's identity. Kyo and Liuli have become independent in life and are smart enough to have their own careers. Their childhood experiences force them to be much more mature than their peers. Even though they often still have some impulsive feelings belonging to their age group, they can indeed be responsible for their own actions. Daughters are completely capable of living apart from their father. At this point, my own opinions are actually completely unimportant. This is not what they think, but the fact that they actually feel in their hearts. Amami Maidenori stared at the chopsticks in his hands and the food residue in his bowl. The aroma of the lobster meat cooked by that brat seemed to still linger in his mouth. Tian Haikimingyu found her father looking towards her. Kyo, what do you think about this matter? As before, Amami Maidenori's voice was also calm. Tian Haikimingyu didn't need to think too much to understand that there was considerable psychological activity behind his father's calm words. Some are conflicts between the concepts of daughters should have their own choices and daughters want to like the same man at the same time. Others are the dissatisfaction expressed in a father's heart when he finally reaches the day when his two daughters are about to leave him. Surrender and helplessness. Even though he knew that he had owed most to his daughter for more than 10 years, it was precisely because he regarded her as his own that he had such thoughts. Tian Haikimingyu gently put down the chopsticks in her hand. After calming down for a while, she looked at her father and replied, "Dad, I am also very conflicted about this matter. The contradiction is that I don't want the feelings I can have to be divided, and at the same time I don't want my sister to be completely hurt. My sister likes to show off, and she never wants to be sad. Overly dependent on my sister. She always likes to treat herself as a sister in front of me and wants to take care of me. I admit the influence that my brother had on me when I was a child. It was also because of his appearance that I had my own life path and goals. Because of my brother, I had persistence for the first time and felt that I was being taken care of and being cared for the first time. Warmth of concern. But in the more than 10 years of my sister and I's growth, it's not like my sister never showed concern for me. She would leave an extra portion of what she likes to eat for me, she would take the initiative when I was not very happy. Make me a not so palatable food, my sister will also carry me to the infirmary when I am injured while running. She will also apply ointment and gauze on the injured area, and then imitate adults. Say pain, pain, fly away. Puff. Sakaki Harasuzu, who originally felt that the atmosphere was very serious, almost burst out laughing when she heard these words. But she found that everyone was looking at her instantly, and she quickly covered her mouth. Sakaki Barasuzu smiled apologetically, and then quickly said to Amamai Nanamajetsu, who was interrupted. Sorry, Sister Kyo, please continue. Tian Haikimingyu didn't say anything more. She looked away and looked at her father again. Although my sister is a little naive, this can be regarded as a reflection of my sister's concern for me. Under her childish behavior, isn't the essence of her love for me. Tian Haijuli Yulai was a little embarrassed when her younger sister told her about the shameful past between the two sisters. But she didn't expect that Chi-Chi would remember this for so long. It seems that the sports injury occurred when I was in first grade, right? Chi-Chi has not been very good at sports since she was a child, and then she fell down accidentally. Tian Haikimingyu paused and said softly. Things like this have happened countless times during my more than 10 years of growing up with my sister. The relationship for more than 10 years is not false. My sister doesn't want to see me sad, and I don't want to see it either. The sister who took care of me is sad, which is why I agreed to share the person I love with her. After Tian Haimadayan listened to his second daughter's words, he didn't comment on anything, and then turned to ask Tian Haijuli Yulai. What about you, Li Yulai? What do you think? From what I know about you, Li Yulai, when you really find someone who can support you, you won't want to let go no matter what, right? When Tian Haijuli Yulai was asked about these words by his father, he lowered his head and pondered for a long time. She and Sakaki Bara first looked at each other, then looked at her sister Nanamai Minjio, and finally spoke. Dad is right. For me, if there is someone who can really support me, I am not willing to let go no matter what. So, why did you agree to that bastard's condition? Was he threatening you with the condition that he would break up with you if you didn't agree? No. Tian Haijuli Yulai shook his head. Lejun has never threatened me. I can agree to Lejun's idea. It's the same as Kyo. After calming down, I can't separate my feelings from Kyo. Dad, you shouldn't know that even after I and Kyo, when the quarrel was at its worst in Kyo would still care about and guide the confusion in my heart. It was obvious that I had said such excessive words to Kyo not long ago. Lejun just pities you in Kyo. Compared with Julai's early willingness to share the love she held onto for a lifetime, I became particularly selfish in front of my sister. I wanted to monopolize everything and didn't want to give anything to Julai. After calming down, these thoughts of mine made me feel a lot of guilt for seriously injuring Chi-Chi. Because of Kyo's love for Lejun, she was tolerant to Lejun again and again, and took care of Lejun and me again and again. Sincere love is caring and giving everything. In this regard, I am not as good as Kyo. Kyo also deserves a response from Lejun, which is also what I, as a sister, hope for. The words of two daughters. They are all expressing themselves very clearly. They explain the reasons why they agreed to accept each other, and also explain the balance point they established after the conflict. As a lawyer, the thing I have seen the most in my life is contradictions. And what is the solution to the conflict? That is talking, giving your own conditions, giving your own evidence, and then negotiating with the other party. Chi-Kyo and Li Yulai could say these words, but they didn't know how long the two children had been talking in private. Their words have been made very clear. Suzuki, what do you think? Amamai Shigenori looked at Sakaki Harasuzu. Me, Sakaki Harasuzu didn't expect her stepfather to ask her suddenly. She pointed to her nose and was surprised. Sakaki Harasuzu first glanced at Nanamai Minjio secretly, then coughed twice tactically, cleared her voice and said, "Although, my brother is indeed a scumbag, but from my perspective, it is actually Chi Minjiu and Julie Yulai who are begging my brother to respond to their feelings. At the same time, my brother is soft-hearted and cannot bear to see them sad, and because Chi Minjiu and Julie Yulai kidnapped his soft-heartedness, which is why he created the current situation." Amamai Maid Nori asked, "What is a Ling's point of view?" "My point of view." Sakaki Harasuzu pursed her lips, then secretly observed a few people sitting there, lowered her head and replied in a low voice, "Since they all agree with my brother's idea, then it's not very good for everyone to be together in harmony. Okay. I don't mind if they snatch my brother away. Since you, uncle, have always hoped that Sister Kyo and Sister Liulai can be happy for a lifetime, wouldn't it be great if they stay with my brother and be happy for a lifetime? I don't think you have to follow any secular concepts. As long as it doesn't affect others, happiness of this level is completely achievable, right?" Ling was persuaded by several people. This once again left Tianheimadayan speechless for a while. As long as it doesn't affect the happiness of others, there's no need to follow any secular concepts? What are secular concepts? There is a word called secularism. The origin of secularism is that people in Europe in the 17th and 18th centuries began to question traditional religion and religious authority. Secular is not truth. The Reformation of the 16th century led to religious schism in Europe, which led people to question the authority of the Church and the absoluteness of its teachings. It also inspired the pursuit of personal freedom of belief and independence of thought. In essence, this is a secular rebellion against convention. Secularity is not perfect for everyone. What Amamai Maid Nori did since he was a child was to resist his father, who was also an authority. Because his authority hindered what he wanted to do and deliberately affected his thoughts, he rose up to resist to tell his father that he would not be at the mercy of his thoughts. The core of your actions is your inner thoughts that are most important. And this creed that he has implemented throughout his life is now put in front of him by his daughters. Instead, I hesitated and hesitated again and again. Asterisk. Sakakibara was waiting for Shigenori Amamai's answer after listening to everyone's words. In my impression, my uncle has always been a serious and open-minded person. He can be meticulous in serious matters and respect everyone's ideas on key matters. This is probably his habit of reasoning as a lawyer. That's all. In the endless silence, Tianheimadayan was the first to sigh, "You have all grown up, and you all have your own ideas. As a father who has been indebted to you since childhood, what can I ask of you? Your pursuit of happiness is yours. Rights, I shouldn't restrict your ideas just because I feel uncomfortable." When Sakakibara heard this, he was quiet at first, then his face became happy, and he asked in a low voice, "Uncle, did you agree?" Amamai Shigenori didn't give Sakakibara Raku a good look. "You brat, can't you understand what I just said? Or are you saying that I taught you so much that your brain was damaged?" No. Sakakibara greeted him with a smile and quickly poured wine into the cup in front of his uncle. "Uncle, he just can't get over it with his words, but he has actually accepted himself in his heart. This is commonly known as a tough talk. He and Kyo are really a father and daughter born in the same mold. I'm extremely grateful to my uncle for being so open-minded before it's too late. I just didn't expect that my uncle would actually agree to this matter without asking me for anything." Amamai Madayan frowned and looked at his smiling face while pouring the wine. "So, you already knew that I would agree?" "I'm vaguely aware of this. After all, after Kyo and Liulai came back from Hawaii, I wanted Kyo and Liulai to return to my class." "Uncle, you also acquiesced?" Amamai Maid Nori stared at his filled wine glass and the reflection inside and said, "Because of what happened between you, I have considered your future relationship a long time ago. According to Kyo and Liulai's temperament, they will probably miss each other's old relationship after they calm down. After all, they are not cruel people. Just two children who lack love. Then can I change my name to uncle and father-in-law now? You bastard, you still have to push your limits. Amamai Shigenori put down the wine glass, but his tone was not so harsh. He slowed down his tone and said seriously to Sakakibara Raku, I promised you, not that I accept your ideas, but because I can't do it and change my heart adhere to the dogma of my life. What I can do is not to support you, but to respect you and your ideas. Since you all feel that there is no problem with your relationship, then just agree. If there is a problem, don't come to me. Sakakihara smiled, of course, I will try to do the best I can. Every man says this to his father before getting married, but no matter what father he is, he will only think that this is the man's rhetoric to kidnap his daughter. What I need is not a verbal commitment, but actual actions. Of course. Uncle, you can ask Kyo and Liulai how I treat them at any time. I will definitely not treat them badly. Tian Haimadayan did not respond to his words, but said in addition. Compared with you dating my two daughters at the same time, what I can't accept even more is that you would treat them badly under such conditions. Do you understand what I mean? Of course I understand. What you have to do is ask their opinions on everything. Even if you don't like them later and you like a new woman, you should tell them as soon as possible instead of betraying their hearts by doing anything behind their backs. A matter of will. Shouldn't we never give up on them? Tian Haimadayan shook his head. I just know your past, but it doesn't mean that I fully understand your feelings. I can't completely guarantee your thoughts from my perspective. Meeting and leaving are common things in this world, and leaving is sad. I just hope that if you really want to leave, you will think about how long July has been waiting for you, how many things she has done for you, and how far she, a little girl, has traveled alone to find you. Also think about Liulai's love for you, think about her eyes when she got up early in the morning to help you pack your clothes, gave you gloves to keep warm, and couldn't bear to see you leave. Sometimes, your own thoughts cannot be completely determined by yourself. You have to consider the people around you. You have to consider the thoughts of the people around you. Do you understand? Compared with his uncle, these words were more like his stepfather's instructions to him. Clear. Seeing Sakakibara nod, Amamai Shigenori drank the sake in the glass in one gulp, and then put it in front of him. Sakakibara naturally smiled and poured a new glass of sake for his uncle. Drinking the wine she poured for her uncle probably meant that her uncle completely recognized her, right? Thinking that in the future, even if she hugged Kiju openly in front of her uncle, it would be fine, she was too late to be happy, and pouring wine for her uncle was naturally a trivial matter. Amamai Shigenori drank another drink in one gulp, then put down the glass, and said to Sakakibara Raku with an unswerving expression. Since you agree with me as the father of Kyo and Liulai, I will naturally give you some conditions. Those words just now were said from your perspective, and now, they are what I want you to do as a father. Uncle, please tell me. First, you can't give up on them. You should know what I'm talking about. Of course Sakakihara nodded. Second, you are still too young now. Some things have to wait until adulthood. Do you understand? Your mother also fully agrees with my approach. Although you can fully afford to raise children now, it does not mean that you can do it now. What? You don't want to agree? Tian Haimadayan frowned, his expression even more unhappy. This matter? What should I say? Not saying anything would be beneficial to the development of the matter, but hiding it would seem to be even worse. My uncle has given in to this point, and if he doesn't tell the matter, it won't be justified. Sakakihara looked at Kyo and Liulai, as well as his mother and sister with some embarrassment. Amamai Miwa saw a clue in her son's eyes when he looked over at that moment, and then looked at Liulai, who was bowing her head shyly, and Kyo, who was expressionless. Combined with the previous Saturday when the three of them went out together, she seemed to understand something. Should Ellie? At the same time, Sakaki Hararaku also took the initiative to tell his uncle about the matter. As for this, uncle, I actually can no longer agree to it. There is no other way, why do you say it's already? Amamai Maidenori's voice stopped suddenly. He seemed to understand something instantly, his expression became stiff, and he scanned the expressions and faces of his two daughters. He waved his hand to Maihi to take everyone out first. Amamai Miwa also guessed what was going on, and spoke to Suzuyoshiki, who was completely unaware, and left the private room with Kiju first. There were only two people left in the entire luxurious box. Snapped. The sound of a wine glass being crushed. How long did it take? Not long ago, just a few days ago. Saturday? The time we went to the manor. Yes. Did you take the two of them with you? Yes. Do you think I should call you a bastard? Certainly. Calm. Amamimadayan persuaded himself hundreds of times to calm down, but he still couldn't calm down. This is all a matter of time, so they agreed to this. They agreed. But don't worry, uncle, it's only July. Do you have Liuli? Of course not. Where are the security measures? Did it too? After hearing this, Tianhimadayan suddenly felt weak. Originally, he wanted to take control of this brat, but now he just wants to be the hands-off shopkeeper, and his daughters can do whatever they want, and he has no control over it. I really want to piss myself off. Stop. Stop it. Nothing. Anyway, he has already pushed his daughter out and agrees to their relationship. Then it is only a matter of time to have two grandchildren, so they can accept it. It's just that Chi-Chi is willing to be with this brat, and Liuli still has some sense of propriety. I have no control over your young people's behavior. If you have children, don't expect your mother and I to help you take care of them. This is natural. Amamai Maidenori waved his hand in disgust, telling the brat to sit down quickly and continue pouring himself wine. Sakaki Bararaku was naturally more considerate, trying to keep in touch with and take care of his father-in-law to make him feel more comfortable. After some time, while eating the delicious food that was undeniably delicious, Amamai Maidenori lost some of his anger, and then he returned to the topic. Zhigzhu, what do you think? Ji Shui? I treat her as my sister, just like Ling. As long as you understand, Amamai Maidenori sighed again while holding the wine glass, as a father and brother, when I understood what Zhigzhu meant to you, I was also very conflicted. Not only do I have to be caught between the feelings of my daughter and my little sister, I also want to refute what the old man said is completely correct. To be honest, I have been really tired because of your affairs in the past few months. Excuse me, Uncle Raku. Sakakibara quickly gave his uncle a chopstick of his favorite lobster, and filled his uncle's wine glass. Zhigzhu is also a child who lacks love. I can understand why the old man sent her here. After all, she is the same age as you. And you are so good at taking care of others. After knowing the life experiences of you and Ling, I don't think it's surprising that your sister likes you, but luckily she doesn't. Sakakihara chose not to speak. The old man will definitely not give up. Even if I help you talk to Kioliuli, he will only relax the conditions. What you have to do now is to let Zhigzhu give up on her own, and at the same time, don't hurt her, do you understand? Understood. Kyo and Liuli also told me about this. It's good to understand. I agree with you because I don't want Kyo and Liuli to be separated. They have been together since childhood and have experienced many things. Amamai Maidenori took another sip of sake and stared into the glass. His own reflection murmured, I hope you brat like you won't make me regret it in the future. After Tianhimadayan said this, he stopped talking. Then everyone returned to the dining table. My mother sat next to her uncle and took care of him, who kept drinking. Although the atmosphere was a bit strange, it was still lively under the leadership of Raku Sakakibara. The family sat around this round table, eating hot dishes, drinking hot drinks, and admiring the beautiful urban scenery brought by the Shibuya skyline. The starry sky at night is bright and beautiful. "Happy birthday, uncle," Sakakihara Suzu said with a smile. Yes, Amamai maid Nori, whose face turned red from drinking, nodded towards her. Tianhai's Higsu then went over to give her brother a birthday blessing. Seeing the dumb look on his little sister's face, Tianhai Madayan reached out and touched her head and asked her to go back and continue eating. To these two children, Amamai maid Nori maintained a good expression. Only when Sakakibara Raku and Uyueli came together to send blessings, Amamai maid Nori became stern. You guys, my birthday is really, really happy." Sakakibara smiled and said, "Uncle, don't worry. What a bastard boy. You should have been harder when I was beaten. My two daughters were abducted by you, bastard boy. However, it is also my fault that I failed to give them what they wanted. Mode Nori, you are drunk. It's nothing. Just vent." In the second half, Amamai Midori was a little drunk, but he still accepted the birthday wishes from the three people. It wasn't until 12 o'clock in the evening that a few people finished their meal. Tianhai Mai helped her husband, who had passed out from drinking, into the car, arranged his clothes, and fastened his seat belt. After closing the rear door, Amamai looked at her son standing in front of her. Sakakihara seemed a little apologetic. "Mom, you don't blame me, do you?" "Me? What qualifications do I have? For selfish reasons, I am also happy that you can gain the approval of these two outstanding girls. As a wife, since maid Nori has agreed, then I have nothing to object to." Amamai Miwa smiled at him, and whispered to Raku Sakakibara behind the three people who were discussing who should carry the sleepy Yuki. "Besides, I also want to hug the children of you, Kyo and Liulai, as soon as possible." "Mom." Sakakibara couldn't laugh or cry, his mother was really on his side. Okay, Tianhai Mai, he reached out to straighten his crooked collar, "I will be happy with you in my future life. What else are you dissatisfied with? Ale is now capable and can buy one for himself." "How much?" "A sports car that comes with money. 5 million euros. That's right. This is hundreds of millions of yen, enough for an ordinary person to spend a lifetime. If that bastard was still alive in this world, wouldn't he regret it to death knowing that the son he abandoned was so good?" My mother said this very poignantly. Maid Nori said that he didn't take good care of Kyo and Liulai, so why didn't I? "I only gave you and Ling living expenses and money, because you were so reassuring, and I pushed everything on you." Amamai Miwa, he lowered his hand from the collar of his son, who was much taller than him. "Mom, stop talking about this." "Yes, let's not talk about that." Tianhai Mi, he smiled again, "but how about you and Kyo and Liulai develop a relationship again? Let me hold two grandchildren at the same time." "Mom, you are too open about picking up two girls. You don't care at all?" Seeing that her son didn't answer her, Tianhai Mi, he didn't say anything more. She patted the dust on his body and said with a smile, "Okay, that's it for today. It's really hard for you to cook so many dishes. I'll take Madayan and Shwe Aling back first, and the three of you can decide what to do in the evening. Of course, it's okay not to come back." Amamai Miwa called up to Sakakibara Suzu, who had Amamai Wayuki on her back, and got into the cab of the Audi A6. "Now, brother, are you satisfied?" Sakakibara Suzu made a dissatisfied face at Sakakibara Raku, and then also got into the car. Mom drove the car, pressed down the window, said goodbye to herself in the cab, and said, "We're leaving first." When Sakakibara nodded in response, he soon saw the tail lights of the car and disappeared. Corner of parking lot. Staring at the car lights until they disappeared completely, Sakakibara smiled and closed his eyes, then looked back at the two sisters who were waiting for him to speak. He didn't wait for the two of them to speak, but walked over directly, holding each of their hands. Tian Haikimingyu is on the left, with a dissatisfied face. I originally thought you would be scolded by Dad, and it will be easier for you. Tian Haijuli Yulai was on the right, very happy. Isn't this good? Lejun was not embarrassed or anything. Sister, you just dote on someone too much. This is my boyfriend. Sometimes your boyfriend shouldn't be too doting, and sometimes you have to whet his appetite. Otherwise, if you let him be too satisfied, he will become more and more obsessed with you. Lejun definitely won't. That's for sure. Sakakihara agreed, and then prepared to give Chi Minjiu and Ju Li Yulai a kiss on their lips. Li Yulai felt it was a bit sudden, but she didn't refuse, and it was only a slight touch. The 7 bright moons in the sky and the sea are ugly, reaching out to push away someone's shameless face. She said to her somewhat sweet sister with a stern face. Did you see it, sister? This man is starting to be obsessed with you now. Yeah. Amamai Kuruori didn't listen to her sister's words. Instead, she stood on tiptoes and suddenly kissed Sakakihara Raku from the side. Then, in front of her sister, she pressed her forehead against her boyfriend's chin, leaned on his arms with her shoulders, and started to get tired of him. Seeing Tian Haikimingyu frowned. Maybe this will be our daily routine from now on? What a stupid couple. Come on, come and give me a hug in Kyo. Go away, I don't want it. Really? Then I took Li Yulai to stay in the hotel alone today. You dare. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 382. With the arrival of the last 3 days of April, time has officially entered May. The plum rain had already begun at this time last year, but this year the sun is still high. Temperatures are rising day by day, and buildings, roads, and trees are sheltering from the relentless sun. The steel buildings in Tokyo's Minato district radiate heat waves, distorted by the dazzling sunlight like a mirage. It is expected that today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, most parts of the country will face continuous high temperature weather. The temperature in Osaka and Kyoto areas is expected to reach a maximum of 37 degrees Celsius, the temperature in Fukuoka area is expected to reach 39 degrees Celsius, and the temperature in Tokyo area is expected to reach a maximum of 39 degrees Celsius. The weather is hot. Citizens are asked to arrange their vacation time reasonably and choose to avoid traveling during the high temperature at noon. The high temperature will last for several weeks, and everyone needs to be prepared to deal with the scorching heat. Aha! Sakakibara yawned lazily. He collapsed on the sofa in the living room alone, grabbing the remote control panel, blowing on the air conditioner, and looking at the weather forecast on the TV with tired eyes. I don't know what happened this year. It's countless times hotter than before. Today is May 1st. Although Japan will not celebrate Labor Day, there will be a 7-9-day Golden Week holiday starting from April 29th. Since it's not Labor Day, where does the 9-day holiday come from? Well, strictly speaking, statutory holidays are actually only 4 days. April 29th is Showa Day, a day off. April 30th is Sunday, a day off. The 3rd and 4th days were just ordinary Mondays and Tuesdays. These 2 days are not holidays at all. Then these 2 days are not holidays at all, so why should we have a holiday? Based on Sakakibara Raku's experience of living here for so many years, this is actually a well-established habit. If there is no holiday for 1 or 2 days between the 2 holidays, then students and social workers will definitely not be happy. So these 2 days were taken together with the holidays, which is the consecutive days off system. May 3rd, May 4th, and May 5th are 3 consecutive holidays, Constitution Day, Green Day, and Japan Children's Day. Then on the 8th and 9th day, it was Saturday and Sunday again. So the holiday was extended for 2 more days. This adds up to a total of 9 days of leave. This golden week is a good time to go out for an outing, but it has been so hot these past few weeks that most people choose to stay at home and turn on the air conditioner. Sakakibara Raku is no exception. He had tried to go out just now, but the heat wave that hit his face when he opened the door made him give up the idea of going out in an instant. Aling, took you out to go shopping. In July, I accompanied Liuli to see an upright piano that could be placed in the bedroom. Mom and Uncle went on vacation again. Because there was still a lot of unwashed clothes at home, Sakakibara had no choice but to stay at home and tidy up the housework. At noon, he cooked food and waited for several people to come back to eat. Unexpectedly, 1 and 2 of them called him and told him that they had eaten out and would not go home for the time being. This made Sakakibara so depressed that he could only enjoy a large table of dishes by himself. It was just afternoon, and Raku Sakakihara could only stare at the TV and variety shows on the TV while chatting away. This is meant to be enjoyed. But Raku Sakakibara had already watched enough TV in the past 2 days. Now watching these programs again, he just feels bored. So he could only half open his eyes as he felt sleepy, his hand pressed on the remote control pad next to his leg, and he switched TV programs again and again in a meaningless manner. Before he knew it, he fell into a drowsy state. It wasn't until the doorbell rang and the familiar "I'm back" Raku Sakakihara woke up from his half-asleep. He immediately put on his slippers and got off the sofa, walked to the entrance to meet Tianhaijuli Yulai, who was carrying a pocket bag. The girl lowered her head and raised her left foot slightly. She reached out her left hand behind her to take off the high heels from her slender legs, and then repeated the action on the other side. Because Tianhaijuli Yulai just came home, she is still dressed up carefully when going out. Tianhaijuli Yulai bent over, with her flaxen hair stretched behind her. The princess braid was gradually braided downward along the extended line of her hair, forming a drape effect at the back of her hair. A crystal jewelry hung from her left ear, swaying and shining as she lowered her head. The sky blue dress not only delicately outlines her shoulder line, showing the girl's soft curves from shoulders to collarbone, but also sets off her straight and slender legs. The skirt stretched lightly from the waist down, gently brushing her white thighs, giving her an elegant and delicate beauty. Just the act of taking off her high heels showed a charming elegance and confidence. Liuli seems to be getting more and more mature. She doesn't look like a 16-year-old girl. She is more feminine than the average girl, and her figure is taller than the average high school girl. It seems that she is the kind of dazzling star who only appears in some celebrity salons. But tall, Liuli seems to be quite tall. Luli, how much do you weigh? Ah. Amamai Kurayuri, who was bending down to change her shoes, didn't expect to hear this question suddenly. She held the canvas bag in her hand to support the shoe cabinet and looked up at Sakakibara Raku, who was standing in the entrance hall. Why did Lejun suddenly ask this? Sakakibara touched his chin and carefully looked at Amamai Kurayuri, who had a slightly puzzled face in front of him, and nodded frequently. I feel like you are quite big, Ruri, so you should be very heavy. What are you talking about? There's no such thing as a big one. Tianhaijuli Yulai muttered to him dissatisfied, then lowered his head and went to look for slippers in the shoe cabinet. You're 1.7 meters tall and you're not that big? Aling becomes a dwarf in front of you. Lejun said that. Suzuchan will definitely be angry when she hears this, probably because the outdoor temperature was too high. The hair on Tianhaijuli Yulai's forehead felt wet with sweat. Isn't she not here? Sakakihara smiled. Suzuki-chan, are you okay? Tianhaijuli Yulai reached out and pushed her hair behind her ears, revealing her beautiful profile. She went to the shoe cabinet and took out her slippers and put them on the ground. She straightened her slender waist, stood up straight, and put on her slippers again, and now I'm not 1.7 meters tall. Wasn't it written down in the last physical examination? I'm 1.73 meters tall. 1 meter 73. No wonder Sakaki Hararaku felt that the recent Ruri boss was taller and had very long legs. It turns out that he has grown a lot taller. She usually stands out in the school, a whole head taller than the average female classmates. How do you feel about the piano? It's okay. I've already made a reservation and someone will deliver it to my home in a few days. Did you buy a Yamaha one? How much did it cost? Sakaki Hara took the canvas bag from her hand. Tian Haijuli Yulai squinted at the ceiling and thought for a moment. It seems like it cost more than $13,000 in total. I don't care too much about the price. 13,000 converted into 1.8 million yen. Sakaki Bararaku must be able to do it, but now she also feels that Ruri has the feeling of a young lady who takes money as if it is not money. This 1.8 million, in a few years, would be enough to cover the expenses of my family for more than a year. Even though he is spending money lavishly now, he still can't help but estimate the value of the money. I really have an eldest lady as my girlfriend. Don't take money seriously at all. By the way, where is Kia? Why didn't you see her? There is something temporary at the company in Kia, and she needs to deal with it by herself. So Tian Haijulai smiled at Sakaki Bararaku after saying this, looking very happy. Now there are only me and Rakyujun at home. Alone. Sakaki Hararaku could see Ruri's beautiful smile and couldn't help but be infected by her mood. You look so happy. Didn't you already agree not to be jealous of Chi-Chi? How can I not eat it? Even if I accept it now, I still have to be jealous when I should be jealous, Tian Haijuli Yulai muttered, her cheeks puffed up, like a little girl who finally managed to go out on a date with her new boyfriend. I don't want Lejun and I to hug each other, and then Chi-Kia glances at us with a resentful look. Sakaki Baro laughed. This is true. When he was with Li Yulai, he always felt like there were eyes staring at him from behind. Will Li Yulai be jealous? Me? Of course I can, but I don't express it at ordinary times, and I will feel it's nothing after a while. Of course. This doesn't mean that I don't care, after all. Tian Haijuli Yulai's words stopped abruptly. Suddenly, she threw herself into Sakaki Hararaku's arms. Because the thing happened so suddenly, Sakaki Hararaku was completely unprepared and couldn't react. He just felt a little softer and warmer in his heart. Then he saw Tian Haijuli Yulai in his arms, raised his eyes and looked at his face above. We haven't been alone for a long time. With the faint fragrance and soft feeling, Tian Haijuli Yulai hugged his waist, his eyes were crystal clear, and he faced himself with a smile. Sakaki Hararaku was unable to react due to her sudden attack, and was forced to take a step back. After a while, when he saw her smile, he realized that she was acting coquettishly towards him. Be coquettish. Sakaki Hara smiled uncontrollably, stretched out his hand, touched her head first, and then asked aloud. What's wrong, are you acting so coquettishly towards me all of a sudden? Is it not okay? Of course you can, but when Li Yulai acts like a baby, there's a reason for it, right? Amamai Kuruori looked away from him, and the smile on her face also retracted. She hugged Sakaki Hararaku's chest, and her answering voice became very soft and soft. What's wrong? Sakaki Hara noticed her change. Luli, tell me, didn't I tell you before? If you have any troubles, you can tell me and I will listen patiently to what you have to say. Sakaki Hararaku's voice was unusually warm when he answered from above. Tian Haijuli Yulai hugged his waist, listened to the beating heartbeat in his chest, and felt the warmth that did not belong to him. This warmth is like cotton candy, soft. But it's extremely solid, as if you can put your face against his heart and feel at ease. Just now, my mother called me. And. Why did she call you suddenly? Hasn't she not contacted you for a long time? Because she found out that we were going to England to participate in an international competition. Mom knew that I was still willing to play the piano, so she would naturally contact me. Well, Raku Sakakihara touched the head of the girl in his arms and looked at the ceiling and said, "This is also expected, right? In fact, when we made that agreement, didn't we already understand that we would go to England again? Are you going to formally face your mother?" "I know, but my mother hasn't contacted me for so long. As soon as she knew I was going to compete again, she called me immediately." Tianhaijuli Yuli's voice was broken and soft when he said this. This also reflects her inner weakness. Li Yuli actually still has some fantasies about Bertha, right? He believes that his mother has some daughter-like feelings towards him. For Li Yuli, the mother who would take her out and go to the amusement park when she was a child might still be there. She hoped that her mother could still remember her former self. And the phone call that Bertha made to her just now made Li Yuli feel a little frustrated again. It was also because of this that Tianhaijuli Yuli suddenly hugged him, wanting to act coquettishly and seek a hug from him. When he hugged her, she showed her weak side again. She was seeking comfort from herself. Sakakibara gently touched her head, threaded his fingers through her flaxen hair, and said slowly to the girl with her eyes closed on his chest. "Don't worry, Li Yuli, don't worry at all now. Even if Mom doesn't care about you, don't I still care about you? Li Yuli is so cute and beautiful. With a little dressing up, she becomes a great beauty. She can have her own confidence. Li Yuli has lost something. If you don't have anything, or if you are unhappy about something, you can come to me. I can make you some food, play games with you, and forget about those unpleasant worries." While he was saying gentle words, he was touching her head. While Tianhaijuli Yuli was praised and comforted by him, she also felt a little guilty. Lejun. Am I a little too glass-hearted? It may look like this to others, but mother has always been very important in Li Yuli's heart. I think it's very reasonable for Li Yuli to do this. Is it not good if I come to you to act like a spoiled brat whenever I'm unhappy? Sakakihara laughed. What are you talking about? Don't forget that I'm your boyfriend. If I don't do these things to you, who will? However, there are many boyfriends who are not like you. Then they are them and I am me. Does Li Yuli like them or me? What I like most is comforting people. The reason is that this is just me. Tianhaijuli Yuli said nothing. Holding Sakakibara Raku, the warmth I felt from him also made me feel grateful in my heart. Very few people can give him such unconditional comfort, right? If an average girl talks to her boyfriend about this kind of thing, she will probably be ignored and not understood, right? But Lejun didn't. Hate. Tianhaijuli Yuli buried herself in his arms and lightly punched his shoulder. Hate it? I'm trying to comfort you, Li Yuli, why do you hate it? It's just annoying. Probably, this is why female creatures are sometimes not understood. One second I was very touched, and the next second I said I was disgusted. Hate. But as Amamikuruuri pounded his fist a few more times in his arms, Sakakihara Raku finally understood. She is still acting coquettishly. But because he was too shy, he could only hide his feelings by being disgusted and beating him. If you say nasty words again, I won't comfort you in the future. This is not okay. Tianhaijuli Yuli immediately raised his head, found his smiling face looking at her, and avoided his sight with a shy blush. She reached out and lifted the hair beside her ears, and then added hesitantly. When I say annoying, I don't really mean annoying. It's just because you're so nice. Are you shy? Can't you? Tianhaijuli Yuli puffed up his face. Sakakihara smiled and reached out to pinch her cheek, of course. Usually Lejun comforts me. When can I comfort Lejun? At night. As soon as these words came out, Tianhaijuli Yulai didn't understand them at all. But then I realized that he was joking about age. Really annoying. Then he hit him again. Sakakihara smiled even more. What could be more interesting than teasing girls? What? Li Yulai said before that she would secretly do that kind of thing to me at night. No, don't say that. Huh? This fact is still the fact you told me. Why can't I say it? I can't say it, I just can't say it. If you say anything else, I'll ignore you. Tianhaijuli Yulai's voice became softer and softer, and her face turned red even to her ears. I told you what I said before to let you understand that in my eyes, you are also a very handsome boy and my boyfriend. So are you. At least I like those with masculine charm. Chi also likes me very much. Why did you suddenly mention July if you're not happy? Okay, I won't mention her. Amamikuruori left Sakakibara Raku's arms and secretly glanced at him several times. Once, twice, 3 times. Neither spoke. Sakakihara had no choice but to smile and take the initiative to ask, if you want to ask anything, just ask. That one. You and Kyo, and that one. Li Yulai, you are right next door, don't you know? Tianhaijuli Yulai was embarrassed, that means no. Not in the past 2 weeks. No. Why? Lejun is a pervert. Sakakibara laughed, I'm not a pervert, and Chi won't let me touch her every day. As I said before, she's even reluctant to hold her little hand, so I have to coax her. Then I won't be like this. Yes, my Li Yulai will definitely not be like this. After Amamikuruori finished speaking, he took the initiative to hold Sakakibara Raku's hand. Sakakibara shook his hand familiarly. Actually, you are not at home today, so I am quite bored alone. Then am I back to accompany Lejun? Then we have to find something to do. That's right. Luli, do we have a great understanding? Right. That. Sakakihara used his eyes to hint at the shy Ruri, telling her to answer what she wanted to do together within 3 seconds. Tianhaijuli Yulai understood what he meant, watched him close his eyes, counted silently for 3 seconds, and then shouted out in unison the 2-person home project this afternoon. Let's take a shower together. Let's play games together. The air fell into silence, and the air conditioner in the living room blew cold air. The two looked at each other, speechless and a little embarrassed. Lejun, you are indeed a pervert. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Sakakihara Raku was slapped lightly again by her mumbling. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Buletin 11 Huan Tio Yu Lan. Chapter 383. You can't take a shower together. But Li Yulai's face lit up when she heard that they could take advantage of this time to play games together. She quickly pulled Sakakibara into her bedroom, closed the door, and ran to the desk. Sakakihara looked at Li Yulai's bedroom. It was still as tidy as ever. There was a faint aroma in the room, and there was a string of glass wind chimes hanging on the window behind the desk. Why are Li Yulai so happy? Because, we haven't played together for a long time. Tianhaijuli Yulai squatted down and pulled out a box containing several platform game consoles from under the bedroom desk. Only then did Raku Sakakihara see that there were many game discs under her desk. They are all fighting or action games. He remembered that Li Yulai seemed to particularly like fighting games, right? Not only King of Fighters, She can also play bloody games like Mortal Kombat. Amamikuruuri buried her head in the box containing the game disc, squatted on the carpet, reached out and rummaged through the contents of the box. While she was searching, she said to Raku Sakakibara, who was standing at the door behind her. Lejun hasn't played a game for a long time. Lejun was able to fight with me several times before, but now I'm afraid he can't do it at all. What Ruri means is that you will definitely beat me this time. Raku Sakakihara looked at the furnishings of Ruri's bedroom. Although he had been to Liuli's room more than once, every time he came here, he would have a novel feeling. A different layout from your own bedroom. Furniture and daily necessities that are different from your own bedroom. There is also a scent that is not in my bedroom, and a pink bedding that will never appear in my bedroom. When he looked away from the bedroom furnishings, he saw Tianhaijuli Yuli, who was half kneeling on the carpet, turning her head. She smiled and said, "That's for sure. Lejun is super weak at games." Ruri, Sakakihara burst out laughing. "You don't need to use such a simple provocation method if you want to provoke, right?" Amamikuruuri stood up, picked up a handle, came to Sakakibara Raku, and put it in his hand. "Then Raku must work hard to beat me." "Okay, where can I sit and play?" "It's more comfortable to sit on the bed," Tianhaijuli Yuli replied, and then looked at the desk that was a certain distance away from the bed. "Just move the desk to the side of the bed so that the display screen is closer." "Can." Asterisk. "Which role should I choose?" Sakakibara was ready, holding the controller in his hand and sitting cross-legged on the girl's big bed. He stared at the display screen on the desk next to the bed, somewhat confused about how to play the game. "The brown one, the brown boy." Hearing Ruri's instructions from beside him, Sakakihara pressed the left direction key of the controller. The screen belonged to his own side, and he quickly selected a wooden figure wearing a brown sweater. "Cody, right. Right." Sakakibara looked at the side of the screen that belonged to Ruri again. Ruri chose Xiaomei. Aha! It was originally a fighting game played with Ruri, but Sakakihara Raku hadn't played it for a long time, and he lost more than he won when playing against Ruri. Ruri adheres to the principle of not bullying others, so she invites Raku Sakakibara to play this two-player cooperative game together. After entering the game, the first thing is a plot. At the dinner table, the parents told their daughter named Rose about the news of their divorce. Rose ran to the warehouse with the doll in the hope that her parents could become friends again. When the camera turned, the couple turned into puppets, and a book called Dr. Hajin suddenly appeared to help Cody and Xiaomei repair their relationship. The adventure begins here. It's quite interesting that people suddenly become so small. Raku Sakakihara saw the prompt and found that the character could move, and began to try to control the character to move forward. He was walking slowly, but Liuli was already running and sprinting quickly. There is nothing difficult in the beginning. Basically, you can quickly adapt to the gameplay by following the prompts. Lejun, come here. Oh, do you want to turn on this switch? Yes, pull together. Controlling the characters, the villains on the screen hung on the switch and worked together to pull it down. When the switch was pulled, the long fuse flew out and ran very fast. Lejun, hurry up, this one seems to be chasing me. Okay, right away. The first level was a training for novices, and it was a near miss. After defeating the first level boss, the vacuum cleaner, I entered the second level. The second level went through a plot, and Cody and Xiaomei in the game got nails and hammers respectively. How to get there? Lejun, that nail of yours can be used to nail a wooden board. If you nail it to the top, I can swing across. I see. Sakakihara Raku suddenly realized. It was pretty good here, but they had to wait until the second small difficulty that required cooperation to advance, and the two of them were stuck. The reason is that the nails need to be collected and driven at the same time. If it were a little later or a little earlier, Xiaomei controlled by Li Yulai would lose her footing and fall down. Ah, Ruri died again. Sakakihara snickered happily. Lejun Tianhai Juli Yulai on the side said with resentment on his face, isn't it too early to give up? Obviously Li Yulai, you jumped early. Lejun did it on purpose, right? Really not. I know I should do this, but sometimes I press the wrong buttons to retract and release. The two of them were stuck here for more than 10 minutes. Initially, Sakakihara Raku thought it was nothing, but after killing Ruri more than a dozen times, when he looked at Ruri's face, he found that she was already a little angry. Haha. Sorry, my hands are a little clumsy when playing games. I've never seen a boy who doesn't know how to play games like Lejun. Come on. I'll teach you. Amamai Kururi was worried that being stuck for too long would affect the mood of the two of them playing the game, so he put his hand on the handle that Sakakihara Raku was holding and taught him step by step the position and sequence of driving nails. Listening to Juri's explanation, Sakakihara Raku didn't pay attention to the game at all. Instead, he looked at Li Yulai and she held her hand. Because she was playing games at home, Tianhai Juli Yulai changed out of her skirt just now. Li Yulai is now wearing a loose t-shirt and shorts at home, and her legs are long and white. Now Li Yulai is like the big sister next door, sticking to her side and patiently teaching her the game. Smell the fragrance on her body, and occasionally catch a glimpse of her breasts that cannot be covered by even the loosest t-shirt. At such a close distance, Sakakihara Raku realized that he was playing games with his girlfriend. First this, and then this. After I jump on it, you have to recycle and nail the last two faster. Are you ready? That's it. In fact, Sakakihara Raku didn't listen at all, and then caused Ruri's 21st death. Amamai Kururi wrinkled her eyes with long eyelashes, and moved her head in front of Sakakihara Raku in dissatisfaction. Raku-kun. Were you listening just now? Sorry, I was a little distracted just now. I'll be fine now. On the 22nd try, this hurdle was finally passed through cooperation. After being taught by Juli Yulai, the next operation will be much smoother. The boss of the second level is a toolbox, as well as a chainsaw and nails. The two protagonists were placed on a wooden board. Not only did they have to face a lot of nails flying from the sky, but they also had to watch the wooden board under their feet shrink and shrink. Don't be hit by the boss with a shovel. Li Yulai, stand over there. No place. Nail is here again. Li Yulai. Don't come here. I told you there is no room. The wooden planks under my feet are being sawed smaller and smaller, which brings with it a sense of challenge and excitement. Sakakihara Raku has often tricked Li Yulai, part of it is intentional, and part of it is just food. That's too much. Tiankai Juri swollen her face angrily, and then began to actively trick Sakakihara Raku, deliberately attracting the boss's hatred value to him. Ruri, don't hurt me. Raku Sakakihara manipulated the controller fiercely, his body twisting with the beating of Cody on the screen. However, at the moment when he was deliberately tricked to death by the boss shovel brought by Ruri, he laughed and said, that's too much. I'm going to die again. Lejun deserves it. The boss shooting the shovel downwards is also an opportunity to test his reflexes. The character stands in the shadow of the shovel, motionless at first, and then jumps out as soon as the shovel falls. Of course I keep hiding, but when I act like this, I feel calm in the face of danger. Li Yulai was beaten to death several times after doing this. Luli is so stupid, look at me. However, Sakakihara Raku is a rookie and has never escaped once. Seeing Sakakihara Raku's failure in pretending to be cool and being slapped to death, Ruri will still laugh happily. Lejun idiot. This game is not difficult, but for T and Yuli, it is a very novel experience to frame each other like this. Of course, this also resulted in the second level boss being fought for half an hour before it was over. T and Yuli became clearer to the naked eye, her mood improved, and her expression was happy. Sakakibara looked at his girlfriend's upright side profile and saw the haze that Ruri had just caused because of her mother's phone call, and then disappeared. At the third level, the tree hole level, the protagonist on the screen has just received the adhesive and gunpowder gun distributed by the squirrel. The adhesive can be detonated with the gunpowder gun in Liuli's hand. Luli, we have to be more serious now. Good. The game has returned to normal, and everyone is working together very seriously to clear the levels. Among them is the reason why Sakakihara Raku didn't find the opportunity to trick Ruri in this level. The more you play the game, the more serious you become, and the more you play, the more fun you get. Thanks to the interesting quarrels and mutual rejections of the couples in the game, the tacit understanding created when they have to cooperate with each other will make players outside the screen feel sweet. While playing, Sakakihara hugged Juliuli and let her sit in his arms and play the game. Sakakibara put his head on her shoulder, smelled the fragrance of her hair, and while playing, they looked at the TV screen to control the characters. While playing games, you can also feel her breathing and body temperature. Ruri is obviously very big, like the big sister next door, but when she sits in his arms and in front of him, Sakakihara Raku feels that she is particularly petite. There is a confrontation mini-game on the way to the third level, Toilet Stopper. Each time a toilet plug is launched, a target can return along the original path. When reaching the opponent's endpoint, one's own side will get 1 point. This little game starts off well, but there are more and more goals later on. Amamikuruuri leaned on Sakakihara Raku's shoulder, shouting very happily, "Raku-kun, give me a little bit," and then lost the game. She was still not convinced and sat up straight. "Come again." This time she loses. Although she lost again, she was not discouraged and grabbed Sakakihara Raku to try again. Challenge after challenge, everyone has his own victory or defeat in the end. Win. Okay, let's continue to pass the level. Run away if you win, right? Anyway, Lejun has beaten me so many times. Let's talk about it next time. Haha, that's okay. As time progresses, each level of the game is overcome one by one. The various interesting interactions designed in the game and the levels that need to be completed and spent together make Sakakihara feel the fun that comes from playing games with his girlfriend. Seeing her smiling cheerfully next to him, cheering happily, "Win." Sakakihara Raku couldn't help but smile along with her. We played together for 3.5 hours and reached the 5th level. Probably a little tired, Amamikuruuri held the game controller. After the boss pink octopus died, she smiled and fell on Sakakibara's eager lap. Sakakibara found that Amamikuruuri was lying on his lap and looking at him, so he put down his arm. "How? It's nothing, I just feel like I haven't been this happy for a long time." That's right. Liuli is such an idiot when it comes to playing games. It's strange that he can have fun. What? Le Junke. You can't beat me at all. Ruri Uki. Lejun cuisine. Ruri Yukina. Lejun is the best. Tian Yuli rested her head on his folded thighs, suddenly closed her eyes, stretched out her hands to his waist, and hugged him. 1 second he was arguing with himself unconvinced, and the next second he was acting coquettishly to himself like a kitten, begging for warmth. Sakakihara Raku was infected by her cute appearance. Seeing her happy and delicate profile, the sweetness of honey filled his heart. Lejun. Lejun. Sakakihara smiled lightly and touched her cheek. "What's wrong? You suddenly called me so sweetly." I just suddenly felt that it was nice to have a boyfriend who could accompany me. The big girl who looked like a princess and star when she came home just now was acting coquettishly on her lap. Sakakibara felt an urge to love her even more, and stroked her with hands like stroking a cat. Her cheeks. I'm just playing a game with you. But, I'm really happy. I just wanted to lie on your body and play games. Why is this? Don't Lejun think it's comfortable to have a boyfriend who you can lean on and play games with? Usually everyone keeps a distance from each other, everyone is like this, but now I can approach Lejun casually, and I can have sex with Lejun casually. When you rest, you can completely trust him. Occasionally, you can also get a hug from him. Isn't this the happiest thing? I saw Liuli wearing a t-shirt, her slender white legs crossed, lying down in a coquettish manner. Sakaki Hararaku also felt this feeling to some extent. Reverse the identities, if you have a lovely girlfriend, she will happily play games with you every day. He can rest on her body or legs as he pleases. She was greeted as soon as she got home. She sat in the bedroom, dressed in home clothes, and told her not to be so nice to her. She even said with a straight face, "I'm your girlfriend," this way of identifying herself. However, if this is true now. Liuli was right in front of him. Being so coquettish, Liuli doesn't look shy. Who said that? I just think that Lejun is very handsome now, and I want to show you some coquettishness. Liuli touched his slightly hard belly through a piece of clothing. Is Lejun feeling bad recently? Are you still exercising? Don't Liuli know? Now you ask because you want to see. No, I just feel that if Lejun has abdominal muscles, he will be quite masculine. Amami Kuruori's little hand touched it curiously through Sakaki Hararaku's clothes. Probably feeling the lines of her boyfriend's abdominal muscles, the girl blushed. Sakaki Hara didn't care, he just felt a little itchy. Moreover, Liuli looked very interested, and her cheeks became redder and redder. She probably thinks she's handsome. Or what else? Let's take a bath together. About the fact that I unintentionally raised my sister to be a cripple. Author, Wo Bulletin 11 Huan Tiu Lan. Chapter 384. Didn't you agree before? It's different now. Hearing Ruri's very girlish answer, Sakakibara looked down at her pillow on his lap. She grabbed the hand that was touching her cheek, separated her fingers one by one, and observed the lines in her palm as if appreciating a work of art. Lejun's palm seems much bigger than mine. Tianhai Yuli stretched out her hand for comparison. That's for sure. Sakaki Hara couldn't describe this feeling, probably because of Ruri's almost childlike innocent actions. He had the idea in his heart that she was so cute. Only children would be so bored that they would compare the size of their hands with others. Only children can be so affectionate and clingy. It's just that the child Ruri is a bit big. Even if she falls on his lap, Sakaki Hararaku feels that she is quite heavy. Probably because she was wearing shorts, her crossed legs when lying on her side looked as smooth as jade, and her sweaty thighs exuded a slightly sensational sheen under the blazing sunlight outside the bedroom window. The soft sheets wrapped her body, and where her little feet were, the sheets sank slightly downwards, with a gentle depression. Lu-li. Ah! Sakakibara shouted her name, and Amami Kuruori immediately turned her head on his lap. The delicate facial features that were even more charming than those of an ordinary girl immediately appeared in front of her. Liuli is a big girl, and she usually dresses very maturely. The dress she wore when she came back just now made her look like a shining noble lady at a ball. Now she was wearing the simplest white t-shirt and shorts, and her sweaty thighs made her look more like the big sister next door who ran to her house to turn on the air conditioner and eat ice cream after exercising in the summer. It's just that the big sister next door is very beautiful. Little boys for miles around like her and like to peek at her sweat-stained thighs, but she only likes to come to her own home. Amami Kuruori glanced at Sakakibara Raku first, mistakenly thinking that he couldn't wait any longer, and avoided his gaze shyly. Does Lejun feel hot too? A little bit. The air conditioner temperature is not turned down to begin with, the temperature outside is about 40°. Summer came a little early this year, and because I had so much fun playing games just now, I was so excited and my body was so hot that the hair on Liulai's forehead was slightly soaked with sweat. The air was inexplicably silent, with only the air conditioner blowing cold air from above. After exchanging glances with Ruri, Sakakibara understood what she meant. Tianhaijuli Yulai's face turned even redder. Luli, why do you suddenly want to take a bath together? How should I answer? Tianhaijuli Yulai's eyes were evasive. Isn't this your problem, Ruri? Sakakihara laughed. Can I answer that I suddenly felt that Lejun was very handsome? Then there is a certain reason for your sudden feeling, right? That's right. Lejun feels very happy when he plays games with me. It's not how fun the game is, but the state of being patiently accompanied by someone. It makes people feel very comfortable. And Lejun is so willing to accompany me, isn't it because I was a little disappointed because of my mother's phone call just now and you want to take care of me? Under the gaze of Amami Kuriyuri's polished eyes, Sakakibara saw the sincerity in her heart. Maybe it's because she feels happy when he's with her, so she thinks she's handsome, right? Although he could understand Ruri's logic, Sakakihara Raku couldn't quite understand Ruri's mood. Maybe it was because I really didn't do anything, but just played games with her and got such a difference in feelings, that made me think like this. But my girlfriend said she wanted to take a shower together, so why should I refuse? Luli, when you're halfway through washing, can you go to the living room? In the middle of taking a shower, what are you doing in the living room? After hesitating for 2 seconds, Tianhaijuli Yulai understood. She sat up straight, then punched Sakakibara on the shoulder, and said angrily. No. It's dead. Really not possible? I want to try it on the sofa in the living room. I didn't promise Lejun that I could do those things, and Lejun's head is full of messy ideas, so he won't be corrupted by Kyo, right? Luli invited me to take a bath together. Doesn't that mean he agreed to it? I just didn't refuse. I didn't say yes. Isn't it okay if you don't refuse? Amami Kuriyuri's words were incoherent, and he looked at Sakakihara Raku with a resentful expression. That's okay. Accepted. After all, Lejun demands so, and as my girlfriend, I should be satisfied sometimes. What kind of idea is this for Liulai to be a little girlfriend? Or is it just an excuse? It's clear that Liulai wants to see her abs. Hate. Sakakihara smiled even more. Did I see through it? Lejun is becoming more and more like a scumbag. Then stop talking and take a shower now. Sakakihara Raku got out of bed at the speed of light and immediately picked up Amami Kuriyuri, who was somewhat reluctant to leave the bedroom, in a princess hug. So heavy. What a tall girl. I guess it must be at least 110 pounds, right? Tianhaijuli Yulai held his hand around his neck, because he said he was heavy, and mumbled with some dissatisfaction, I'm not that heavy. But, Lejun. What if we are in the living room later and Chi-Chi comes back? It's okay to see you in Kyo, and wouldn't you be very happy to see you in Kyo? That's the same. What about Suzuki and Yuki? They told me a long time ago that they want to watch a movie when they go out. They won't go home until at least 7 in the evening. It's only a little after 4 now, so they're early. After saying this, Sakakibara put his forehead against Amami Kuriyuri's forehead, smiled with her for a while, then carried her out of the bedroom and went straight to the largest bathroom in the house. Asterisk. Hot, hot, hot. As soon as Sakakihara Suzu and Amami Yuki walked out of the commercial center, they saw the unstoppable sun above their heads. The city twists in the heat wave, and the scorching sun casts a strong ray, illuminating the buildings, sidewalks, and vehicles on the streets. The high-rise buildings radiated heat, and the glass curtain walls reflected dazzling light. The ground was burned, and layers of heat waves twisted upwards and flew out. The city center seemed to have become a huge furnace. The vehicle was driving in the heat wave, and the engines emitted blazing exhaust gas, turning the already hot streets into a furnace fire. Why did the weather suddenly get so hot? Sakaki Harasuzu held several bags of snacks in her hands, looked up at the sky, and reached out to cover her sweat-stained forehead. The bright sun, which was not covered by any white clouds, made her skin sting and she couldn't open her eyes at all. Ling, we've finished the ice cream. Sakaki Harasuzu turned around following the sound and saw Amami Yuki, whose forehead was also covered with sweat. The hair of the girl in a pure white dress became a little messy due to the sweat. The ice cream cone in her hand was just a small paper shell. Amami no Yuki stared at Sakaki Harasuzu. Sakaki Harasuzu stared back at her, saw the meaning in her dull gaze, and frowned. Do you still want it? Yes, Tianhai's Higsu nodded. But, this is the fifth cone you have eaten, Yuki. You can't eat any more. But it's so hot. At this moment, the two of them came out of the commercial center after buying snacks. They originally planned to go to the cinema next door to watch a movie, but before they even took 2 steps out of the commercial center, the two of them, without air conditioning, immediately experienced the viciousness of summer. What's more, Suzu Sakaki Baro was carrying so much food and drink in her hands. Higsu bought her 3 when she came, and 2 more when she came out. Although the commercial center is quite comfortable with air conditioning, I bought so many snacks and there was no place to sit inside. I should have bought it later. I said I was going to the movies with snacks, so I didn't have to buy such expensive popcorn. Now, why don't you go home? Amami no Yuki winked at Sakaki Harasuzu. The sweaty Sakaki Harasuzu took out her mobile phone from her skirt pocket and looked at the time. It's only 4 o'clock. Yuki doesn't want to play anymore. Too hot. 2. Sakaki Harasuzu looked like she wanted to go back when she saw Yuki looking for a taxi to take home. Sakaki Harasuzu immediately guessed most of her thoughts and half closed her eyes. Could it be that you just want to go back to find my brother? Well, Tianhai's Higsu looked left and right on the side of the street. It will be very lonely if I stay at home alone. I want to accompany him. When Suzu Sakaki Hara heard this, she felt a little disgusted. She raised her hands carrying snacks, looking indifferent. My brother? Will he be lonely? Yuki, don't look at my brother with the same eyes as before. My brother is not what he used to be. Now he doesn't know how beautiful he is. Even his uncle promised that he can be with 2 people at the same time. Just dating a fox. I was so angry that my uncle and my mother went on vacation during the Golden Week. Okay. Tianhai's Higsu didn't reply, but just poked his head to see if there was a taxi approaching near the street. Seeing her best friend's appearance, Sakaki Harasuzu asked helplessly. Yuki really thinks my brother needs company. Well, Ellie told me herself that he likes to have someone to accompany her. Sakaki Harasuzu sighed. Okay, that's right. My brother does need someone to accompany him. But what he needs is not you, Yuki. He has 2 foxes. And you didn't realize that he was deliberately alienating you in the past few days. What? He just doesn't want you to be so close to him. After hearing this, Amami no Snow turned around and kept staring at Sakaki Harasuzu. Sakaki Harasuzu thought she understood, and sighed, are you clear? Unexpectedly, Tianhai's Higsu went back to find the taxi. Yuki? Yuki? Sakaki Harasuzu shouted twice before getting a faint reply from Amami Nazuki. No, Ellie has already said that she likes me very much. I want to go back to accompany Ellie. Ellie is very lonely at home alone. Well. Little Yuki was also seduced by that scumbag. Why do you think my brother is lonely? Because I feel lonely when I'm alone. This is how you feel. Little Yuki can't get enough oil and salt. Even Sakakihara Suzu didn't know how to persuade this good friend. She feels that Yuki is very similar to herself, both have a love that they like but cannot get a response from. In other words, in romance novels and anime, they are all the kind of abandoned losers. I only deserve to see other women happy. Before doing this, Sakakihara Suzu might still be dissatisfied. Why should she be the loser? But now, she sees clearly and accepts her fate. Instead of being a loser with nothing, why not hook up with the fox woman more and win her to your side? It's a pity that Yuki hasn't accepted her fate yet. Tianhai's Higsu suddenly raised her hand and stopped a taxi on the side of the road. After Suzu Sakakibara got into the car with her carrying snacks, she told the driver about her destination, Shirogane Takanawa Apartments. Closing the door, the taxi began to drive down the hot streets. In the car, Suzu Sakakihara held a large bag of snacks on her lap and turned her head to look at Amami Nazuki's cheek. She couldn't believe it before, but when she heard Higsu herself saying that she wanted to confess to Le, she finally understood that Higsu really liked her brother. Hateful. Fortunately, she believed that Higsu would not like her brother for a while, but she didn't expect to be slapped in the face by Higsu herself. You like my brother? Does uncle know? Tianhai's Higsu was looking at the sky outside the window. She saw the round white clouds in the sky and felt that they were like fried ice cream made for herself. Snow. Sakakibara Suzu shouted again, and Amami no Yuki came back to her senses from countless fried ice creams. Belle, the girl looked confused. Yuki, why are you always in a daze? Ling, over there. Tianhai's Higsu suddenly pointed to the fountain in the park outside the car window. Sakakihara Suzu quickly put her head in and looked in the direction she was pointing. What is that? A rainbow. Why is there a rainbow? It's just a little small. Because he was driving, Tianhai's Higsu saw that the small rainbow on the park fountain disappeared quickly. The first time she saw a rainbow was when Raku Sakakihara took her to the beach. Seeing this, she remembered the scene when Raku Sakakibara carried her up the mountain and led her to the top of the mountain. She didn't expect to see it here, so Tianhai's Higsu put her hands on the car window, wanting to take another look. Yuki, don't stick your head out. Sakakibara Suzu quickly pulled Amami no Yuki back. She felt even more helpless when she saw her good friend's eyes filled with Sakakihara fun. Higsu, why are you paying so much attention to the rainbow? Because Le took me to see it for the first time. It was so beautiful. Le would carry me on his back at that time. After coming back, Le didn't want to see me anymore, Tianhai's Higsu said, looking at the place where she was hands on legs. What a scumbag. Seeing Kojiki's disappointed look, Sakakihara Suzu couldn't help but scold that bastard. But he didn't do anything wrong, because he had to take care of the feelings of the two foxes, and he had to keep a certain distance from Higsu. What could she say? I can only say that Yuki is just like me, she likes someone she shouldn't like. Yuki. Does uncle know that you like my brother? Brother knows. Then he supports you. Tianhai's Higsu shook her head and looked down at her hands. The saddest thing is that when you like someone, you not only get no response from the person you like, but also have no one to support you. Yuki is in a similar situation to himself. There is no one who can support her, so my uncle won't say much. His daughter is in my brother's hands. Grandpa, you are kidding. How could Grandpa agree with Yuki? Sister Zi. Sister Zi probably can. But she hasn't paid much attention to the affairs between them recently, and she doesn't even stop Kyo and Liulai. What the hell? Isn't she a supervisor under Grandpa? Suzuki-chan, I recently wrote a song for Raku. Song? Did you write it for him again? Again. Seeing Minazuki's puzzled face, Sakakihara Suzu understood that Zyuki had lost her memory. Although Sister Kyo said she would talk to Le and ask him not to avoid me. But I feel that Le will not accept the song I wrote for him. Stupid Yuki. He will definitely not accept it, he has already rejected you once. Sakakihara Suzu was filled with emotion when she thought of this. Poor Yuki had no one caring about her since she was a child. Finally, someone cared about her and would take her to see a whole new world. But this world doesn't accept her now. Yuki never had such troubles in the beginning. She just knows how to eat, nod, and listen to people talk. What a culprit. Brother, you bastard. Ling, do you think I should play the song for Le? Better, don't want it? Tianhai's Higsu lowered her head again, but when I was sick, Le came to visit me with a doll. I really like the gift Le gave me. Yuki, didn't Sister Kyo tell you before? Treat my brother as an older brother. As long as you treat my brother as an older brother, then there will be no problem playing that song to him. Is it really possible? Well. Sakakihara Suzu herself didn't want to persuade Zio like this. But Higsu is grateful to her brother and wants to repay him. She wants to make her brother happy. How sad it would be if Higsu's identity hadn't changed, and she kept confessing her love and then being rejected again. Are you afraid that after being rejected, you will be so sad that your symptoms will relapse again? Didn't the doctor in Hawaii also say that before? Can't let Yuki be stimulated anymore. Poor little Snow. It seems that he must also exert his efforts in 3 directions. While asking Yuki to let go of her feelings, she also needs to ask her brother to be nicer to Yuki, and also ask Sister Kyo and Sister Liulai not to be jealous of Higsu. After all, Xiao's Higsu only has one thought about her brother. It's hard to like someone, but it's even harder to have a crush. Sakakihara Suzu understands Yuki quite well, and compared to her own impossibility, Yuki is not without a glimmer of hope. I really want to help her. Tisk. Thinking about it this way, I have really worked hard enough and been great enough. Ling, it would be boring to stay at home, right? It must be boring for him to be alone. I want to give Le a surprise. That's a good idea. Then let's open the door quietly later and walk in without making a sound. Suzu Sakakihara smiled and hugged the plastic bag of snacks in her hand. Hey, I even bought him a small cake. He saw us. Wouldn't it be great to go back and accompany him early? We can also let him make fried ice cream for us. Good. Then it's settled. Give me a surprise.